Fast Life Podcast is brought to you by Simpson Motorcycle Helmets. Simpson's a great gift for this holiday season. My first Simpson was a Christmas present from my wife, which that helmet became the Sam Jackson Ghost Bandit that I got. You can go check out all the helmet models, finishes, and visor options at SimpsonMotorcycleHelmets.com. You should also be following these dudes on Instagram at Simpson Motorcycle Helmets. Another absolutely perfect gift idea for the riders in your life is the Lexan Moto products. The FT4 Pro, which is the first in the industry to have a patented utility light with SOS function. The Type-C USB charging, which is the fastest in the market, and up to 15 hours of battery life and 1.2 miles of intercom range. And their just recently released wireless RAM mount phone charging system. Head over to LexanMotorcycle.com, see the many other products, and use Fast Life at checkout for 15% off. And you can catch the Lexan team at the Chicago and New York IMS shows, and as always on Instagram at Lexan Moto. I have been running the ThunderMax ECM on my EFI equipped bikes since 2012. One of the best features is the ability to auto-tune to your bike's upgrades and riding conditions. Do you want to install your own cam or big bore kit, but don't have access to a dyno? Then ThunderMax is your go-to for reliable performance. Almost messed that one up. Pair it up with your handlebar display and have all your engine's vitals in your field of view while you ride. To check out their ECM applications and many other products to give your Harley-Davidson some new life, head on over to shoptmax.com and follow ThunderMax EFI on Instagram. Dream Rides is your spot if you're looking for a shop to build, maintain, repair, or upgrade your Harley-Davidson. John Jessup is the dude. His shop in Stockton, California is the spot for in-house dyno tuning, parts, and bike sales. Another great place for gift ideas for your people or yourself is their extensive online store at teamdreamrides.com, which is offering 100 days same as cash financing on products. All you need is a job and a bank account. And don't forget to use offer code FASTLIFE for 10% off and give John and the team a follow at DreamRidesJohn on Instagram. Another great place to stock up on holiday gifts or just get some shit for yourself is Paint Huffer Metal Flake, which is the industry standard when it comes to flake. Check out painthuffer.com and use FastLife12 at checkout for 10% off. And follow Paint Huffer Metal Flake on Instagram and stay up to date on all the product releases, sales, and works of art produced by many artists from around the globe. Man, screwed that one up a little bit. Sorry, Brian. And last but not least, Big Bear Performance is a go-to for high-quality performance products for your FXR, Dyna, Softail, and Performance baggers. It's another great place to get some items for your loved ones and homies. You know, are you a baller? Get your boy a nice little Nix 22 Olin setup. Big Bear's the place to get it from. Along with being the industry leader in Olin suspension sales, service, and tuning, check out BigBearPerformance.com and you can always give Kevin a call and get the info and answers for your motorcycle's upgrades at 909-479-7788. We have come to the end of the SEMA podcast, and I'm glad to be here. I did a podcast last night with John Jackson, which we'll be releasing next week. And it was the first time I podcast since SEMA. So it's kind of cool doing these trips where you sit down and you talk to all these people and you just kind of bang a lot of these episodes out in one like sitting or one time frame. But then you go a couple weeks without sitting behind a mic and you kind of feel rusty or whatever you want to say, you know. So it's good to get back into it. And like I said, this is the last one from SEMA. And from here on out, we'll be doing all the current ones. It'll be a lot more up to date and whatnot. But this one was with Taylor Schultz, which is, if you don't know who he is, then where the hell have you been in this world of what we do with this Harley shit? So he's an awesome dude. Met him before, but this is the first time I've really got a chance to get to know him. And, you know, I love this dude, man. He's an awesome guy. He's a great painter, and he's doing a lot for our industry and kind of helping it change. And, man, I'm stoked about it. On this podcast, too, we had Jesse. He helped out. Gave us some talking points and was a good like addition to the podcast. So anyway, I want to thank you guys for continuing to support us through Patreon, man. I'm excited. I'm waiting on a package to show up today. I want to show you guys what the last 2 months of Patreon has bought for this podcast, and it's going to make things so much nicer. If you enjoyed the quality of the Dixon podcast we did in September, the quality of the sound and just how all that shit, I just got that stuff. So I'm gonna show you later whenever it comes here, and we'll post it and everything. But anyway, thank you guys for all that. If you're interested in donating and being a sponsor, or if you're I'm choking on my words right now, but if you're interested in helping this podcast out, go to our website, fastlifegarage.com, and check out the front page. There's a link to our Patreon, and you can go donate $1, $5, whatever you feel comfortable, but it all adds up and helps us do more shit with this podcast. So that is one way to help. The other way to help is to let us, or to reach out to these sponsors and see what they have to offer. Maybe, if you're looking at buying something, go check out one of these guys that I brought on here as sponsors, because I bring on people that I think that you guys are going to want to get stuff from, that I buy stuff, that I use. You know what I mean? So I'm not bringing on some fucking Harbor Freight stuff. These are solid people in the industry that make great products, and I want you to check them out because they're badasses. So anyway, I'm gonna cut this off right now. Here is Taylor Schultz.
Hey guys, you ready to let the dogs out?
Fast Life Podcast.
All right. No, the $40 on Amazon.
If they were expensive, I don't know where I was going with that.
No, they're fine. Well, shit, we're here. We're doing it now.
Nice, we're live.
Taylor fucking Schultz.
Hi.
Hey, man. So, from what I know of you, you've been doing this stuff for quite a long time. How did you kind of like start into the paint thing?
Ooh, good question.
And were you in NorCal still, or were you SoCal, or how did that work?
No, so I grew up working in a body shop, and I had an old truck that my dad and I built together, and I had to get it painted. So I went to a family friend that owned a chain of body shops, and he allowed me to go there on my winter break during school and like prep the thing, get it all sanded, and then he had one of his guys spray it.
Yeah.
And then after, he was like, "You want a job?" And I was, I don't know, 13 or 14. So I started working in a body shop. Then was doing that every summer, then after school. And then in high school, I got a scholarship to Academy of Art in San Francisco, the art school. I'm from Bay Area, born and raised. So I went there, like graduated on a Friday from high school, and then I went to college on Monday.
That sucks.
During the summer.
It's probably good, though. You didn't get a taste of freedom, though.
No, and then I remember the first class I walked into was a figure drawing class, and there was a naked pregnant chick. And I was like 18. I was like, what the hell? It's kind of a culture shock, but it was pretty fun.
Yeah.
And then I did that for a couple years, and I had this kind of hustle going where I went for automotive design.
Yeah.
So I would take kids. Everybody there was from Asia.
Yeah.
They seemed like they had a lot of money. So I had this hustle going where I would take their models and take it to my work, and I would spray it, and I would charge them for it.
Yeah.
So then the teachers kind of caught on to what I was doing, and none of them knew how to paint. None of them knew anything about body work. They had a full paint shop, full body shop there, and I remember one time the teacher got mad at me because he didn't know how to take apart a spray gun, and I put it back together for him. So they found out
that they would have that at an art school like that instead of a vocational place.
I know. So it was because it was automotive base, so they had to have all that stuff there. They had a full wood shop, metal shop, everything. But I wasn't a dumb kid even back then, I kind of knew what was up working in a shop my whole life. So I was like, these guys are idiots, I know more than these teachers. So they kind of caught wind of what I was doing with these projects, and I was making all sorts of money doing it. And I was still working in the shop, and then I got busted. They sat down with me at a director of the school and all this shit, and they made me stop what I was doing and didn't do it anymore. And I don't know, it was kind of like a slap on the wrist. So I decided to take a semester off, and I went back full time to the body shop. And I just started working there. And I was like, I'm just not going to go back.
Yeah.
So I just didn't go back. And at that time, I was going to be a body guy. Like, I had all my certs for iCar.
Yeah.
And I was probably 20 years old. And then the body shop got super slow. Mm-hmm. And my brother worked next to a custom motorcycle paint place in Novato. And I just went there randomly. And he needed somebody like right away. And he had a bunch of work. And I was like, all right, cool, let's do this. So the guy that I worked for at the body shop was pissed. He was like, man, I invested all this stuff into you and this and that.
Yeah.
I'm like, man, I got to work.
Yeah.
Like I've always been that way. I've always just had to work. That was like my therapy. And so I worked for a motorcycle place. Turned out to be kind of a joke. That's where I met Al from Big Al Cycles. He worked there as well.
And Big Al's originally from up there too, as well.
Yeah, same area, Sonoma County. I was like 21. He was like 18. Mm-hmm. And let's see, we went from there. I stopped working there. Did like construction, which was cool. It was like a break. And then I went and painted at a place that was in where Al's shop is now.
Yeah.
And it was fun. We had a lot of time there, a good time there. And it was like a bunch of guys that were older, and we would like rock out work. Like we would start at 9 a.m, work till 2 a.m. Every day. And it was like a pretty intense place. It was going from like a body shop that was pretty like cut and dry to like a place where everybody was just music on 10, just working. It was pretty fun. But then it got slow there as well, and I kind of knew that. So I went back to the guy that I originally worked for as a kid, and I was like, can I rent a space from you? It's like, yeah, rent a space from one of my shops. So I knew that I was going to get fired from that job. Mm-hmm. So I started working on my own at night. Mm-hmm. So when I did get fired, I literally just went across the freeway
and started full time.
Yeah, went full time. And I was 22.
And how old are you now?
35.
Okay, damn, it's quite a few years. But yeah, starting at 13, my brother started at 13 too, just buffing. But he's got a love-hate relationship with the paint industry because he went through the hard times that I went through with me, so he hasn't quite got to see the glory side of it. I don't know if he has.
I don't know if that even exists these days, buddy.
I mean, when I started, there was no social media.
Yeah.
There wasn't even Facebook.
Shit's fucked up nowadays.
So you had MySpace.
Yeah. Did you ever use MySpace to hustle work, though? I just feel like it was a good place to get some ass.
That's all it was. Yeah. You had your top friends or whatever, and it was the first social media dating site, I think, like it was just to get chicks pretty much.
Yeah.
Have famous stars and straps F for your cursor and shit.
I had that background.
Yeah.
But it was that was, I don't know exactly what year that was, but then it seemed like for about 10 years all I did was work. Yeah. Mm-hmm. And didn't do anything else.
I remember seeing you on that Flakes and Flames video.
Was it?
It was like a documentary series or a movie thing that was on and you were out at like a hot rod show, like outdoors, just striping up a car or a truck or something.
Yeah, so there's a show in Northern Cali in Antioch called Bulletproof. I think I was about to say Bulletproof. It's Bulletproof, and it's a pretty massive like rat rod style custom show, and I used to go there when I was first started striping. Actually, I won Best Pinstriper there, I think 2 years in a row. Mm-hmm. If I remember correctly. But yeah, so that's where I would kind of go and just bring my little bag of striping stuff and be out there striping.
How did you get into the striping thing? What was the...
So when I worked at a shop before I opened my own, the nice thing about the owner was he would stripe all his stuff himself.
Yeah.
So I got to learn a lot from him. But I also knew that I wanted to develop my own style.
Yeah.
So that really like kicked off I didn't stripe anything until I opened my own place.
Yeah, yeah.
And then I was like, I don't want to hire somebody.
Yeah.
They like come in, you got to wait on them and this and that. So I just started doing it, and I struggled with it for a long time, especially gold leaf and stuff like that. Like I mean, there was no like YouTube or like anything, you know what I mean? Like you had books.
Yeah, yeah.
And stuff like that. You kind of like were thrown to the wolves at that time, or you talk to old guys that were doing it. That was the fun thing about those car shows too. You talk to the old guys that were stripers, see how they did it, and then try and do it yourself,
Yeah, the gold leaf thing just like went from kind of the simplistic old way of doing it to like looking like a stack of CDs laid out on the fucking panels, and all the sandpaper, all the different things. It took me a long time to get that down, but I still struggle with gold now because the way you do silver leaf is not the way you're technically supposed to do the gold leaf.
Exactly.
But some people can make it work and get that look still, and I just haven't been able to master it myself.
Yeah, a lot of the silver leaf that you see a lot of these guys doing where it just looks like a bunch of dimes rolled out, it's aluminum.
Yeah.
And they're putting it down, and a lot of the times I understand why they're doing that, especially on like lowriders where they have so much space and so much lines and so much graphics that they're doing it with. Obviously, it's cheaper. So to find a good way to turn it, I mean, obviously you're going to use a piece of Trizac or whatever you're going to put on the dowel and turn it. And I was always kind of like weary of that because I'm like a huge traditionalist.
Yeah.
So where I like doing stuff like the old way.
So you're using pure like a real silver leaf,
turning it with velvet.
Yeah, and then real gold and stuff like that
gold,
as well. Yeah. So I can get the real gold leaf to look the traditional way.
Yeah.
But I guess the times, the way they look, or the way people are seeing like Loki do his gold leaf, or some other people like Valley Customs and shit.
They're kind of like setting the standard of the look now of what people want.
Yeah.
And it's cool. I mean, it's just another way of doing it.
Yeah.
But personally, as if I was to paint my bike, I wouldn't do it. I would just do it traditional.
Yeah.
Still have that kind of hand turn look instead of like a machine did it.
So how did the process go whenever you were so you started your own shop, or were you just basically focusing on bikes? Were you doing like cars and everything, or were you kind of just
I was doing everything. I was doing full like cars. I was doing collision stuff. I had an account where we would flame trucks all the time, like all the time, just be flaming trucks all the time, just one after the other. It got kind of old, but and at that time Al moved to Huntington Beach to where he worked for a place called Top Shelf Customs. So that's the bobber chopper heyday. So they would build totally cool bobbers and choppers, and they would stock helmets that I painted there, so you can go buy it now. So that was cool. I was painting stuff for them, and that's where that style kind of originated, where I remember being in the shop, and like when I started working, it was tribal flames, realistic fire, Skullmaster kits, like stuff like that. And it wasn't like anything like how it is now with the panel work, but everybody in SoCal loved that old school style. And it wasn't until Buddy from Unknown was like, hey, I want to paint my FXR like one of those bobbers you do. Yeah. And like I've known them for years, we're all in the same area, we all knew each other, we were all friends. And I remember he was like even kind of hesitant when we were done about it, but taking him on his bike and doing what he does really like pushed where it is now, and those guys really originated a lot of that style too.
Yeah, I mean, that shit hit us in Texas like hard. When the panel thing was starting, so basically when you started doing that panel show, it was probably like the late 2000s, would you say?
Let's see, I painted Buddy's bike, I think, in 2006 or 2007. Okay. Is when I think I painted that.
It kind of took a while to kind of sweep across the country then, because I think that like all the wheeling on Harleys and all the videos we started seeing in the panel Dynas and FXRs, I want to say it was like 12 or 13 when we started seeing it.
Yeah, so
like,
they were already on tour doing Mayhem festivals and stuff like that. And the gold FXRT that Nick owns, I think that was painted in 2011.
Damn, that long ago.
2010, yeah.
Yeah, that one hit home hard because my close friend Brad, he's the one. He was always a huge fan of Unknown and you and everything, and he would I'm a painter, and he was always like, hey man, check out this shit. I was like, I don't want to do that stuff. Like that's a different style. I was doing the tribal flames and the Skullmaster flexes and stuff like that, and once I got bored with that shit, and when I changed my riding style, when I stopped riding the big wheel baggers, and I started riding like a Dyna and other shit, it kind of like fit the culture much better. Like I didn't.
Yeah, you just reminded me of something. I remember being in Huntington Beach riding Al's FXR, and this dude giving me a thumbs up saying, "Nice Sportster." Because even down there,
it wasn't.
The scene wasn't like how it is now. With the everybody, the helmets, and the flannels, and the Dynas, and that type of stuff. Like it was just at the, beginning. And it was all of us because we couldn't afford those bikes. Like I couldn't afford a bagger.
Yeah.
Like we rode FXRs and Dynas because that's the culture we were around, that club style, being around Northern California, a lot of the club influence on us when we were young. And, that's the type of bikes that we wanted to ride because that's the guys that we looked up to and saw how they rode when we were a kid, like that performance FXR was like, that's the bike you got.
I think that's the big difference about the change now is that, you are a product of the environment you grew up in, but now we're a lot of us now are a product of the social media that we subscribe to.
Exactly.
And so I think now that's why it's easier for a style to sweep across the country because it's, you're not just stuck looking at your local car shows and bike shops for what they do.
Yeah.
Now it's, fuck, I follow you and I'm like, damn, you did it like this. Like, I dig that. Or some kid, some kids in Michigan see everybody doing wheelies on Harley. So, the sport bike thing was kind of washed up and played out. So fuck it, let's try it on something else.
Yeah, you see the guys that switch from sport bikes to the Harley.
Oh yeah,
and they're just like dominating, and you're like, those guys are out of control.
Yeah,
Seabear and all. I mean, those guys are just they do stuff on bikes that makes me wonder.
What's really crazy? It's like if you look at like the stunt world, which we haven't had a lot of the stunt people on this yet, but being from the sport bike world before I got into the Harley world, I saw when wheelies went from like highway high chairs and that shit to when the circle wheelie came out, when people were doing and it was all the handbrake stuff when that stuff started coming out.
I remember watching, Buddy doing a stand-up wheelie and going like, what the hell was that?
Yeah.
Nowadays it's like, that's, one of the preliminary things you got to do when you want to go ride a wheelie is like these dudes doing stand-ups. And then you see Buddy and Nick and everybody do like a sit-down circle burnout.
Yeah.
Without putting a foot down or something like that.
Oh, yeah.
And you're like, that was like a pivotal point for us where we were at. That was like, damn, he's doing that, like.
I like to equate like all the stuff that you guys did as kind of like the same way the skateboard culture just swept across America in the 90s. You know what I mean?
Absolutely.
And it had like, it's like I said, yes, like Seabear, there's so many more people that are technically like on a technical scale, way more technical of doing wheelies and doing that shit. But there was always this California style, a swag of like how it was like, yes, the gold FXR isn't doing all this crazy shit on the road, but goddamn, I can watch this thing do a wheelie for 40 miles. You know what I mean?
He'll get it. He'll do whatever that thing, I've painted and repaired a lot of that bike. So, I think I've painted the fairing 2 or 3 times, repaired it, and I've painted the rear fender a couple times.
But I mean, like it just fits, and like the style of paint that you really brought into the mix of stuff, and it has honestly widely shaped our generation of paint this last 10 years.
And I think a lot of people, with Unknown and all that stuff, they kind of spearheaded a lot of that movement.
Oh, 100%.
And a lot of people I've noticed nowadays that are younger getting into it, they don't know the background of it or the history of it as much. So I see these people that they come out and they're like, think they did something. I was like, man, I did that 7 years ago.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Or 10 years ago. So it's cool. It's just part of it,
Yeah, it is.
I'm glad to be part of it.
I got told I was copying doing someone else's fingerprint design on a bike, and
the most abstract thing.
Yeah, that I saw someone do that shit on a lowrider back in like 2002, and I know he got it from somebody else back in the day.
I always thought I was Mexican in a past life because I was lowrider painter, so yeah. There's only so many color combinations. There's only so many things you could do. There's only, there's bound to be somebody that did something down the road, that somebody else has done. It's just the way it is.
Music, there's only so many, chords and notes and scales.
Exactly.
At some point in time, you're going to have similarities in songs or whatever. It's the same shit.
I thought about it. I don't know much about the music thing, but I've always wondered that. Like, I wonder how long before you start hearing other music in this music. You know what I mean? Which I know we do now, but, that's the same thing in paint.
How long until, we just totally run out of fresh shit to do, and now, we're just recycling songs?
Well, I felt like that's what rap was doing back in the early 90s. Yeah, exactly. Just sampling and shit like that.
Well, that's just a thing that's always been a thing. Like rap and blues, they always it's almost like a nod to the things that they, you know, grew up on.
Yeah,
like
yeah.
they take that beat or that saying or that phrase or whatever, and they renew it.
Yeah,
it's all the same shit, and it's no different than what, you know, you guys are doing now. Just taking what you've seen back in the day that inspired you, now you're doing it just a little differently.
Well, see, I would say like you probably were way more. You probably saw that more because I've been in NorCal and I know how heavy the hot rod culture is. You know, it's like every old man in every house there has a nice little old school in his car, in his collection.
They're all pinstriped and they're all painted nice and they're all, I mean, and it's usually a guy with a cool car and a guy with a Harley in the same garage, you know. In early 2000s, there was guys that were, when the economy was great and they're pulling money out of their house and they would come spend a bunch of money getting their bikes painted, building bikes.
Yeah.
I mean, now nobody builds a chopper nowadays. You know what I mean? Like, who builds choppers now?
Yeah, exactly. It's kind of definitely changed, but you know, like when I started going up there to paint, like our biggest thing was people were doing insurance licks.
Oh yeah. Yeah, exactly. Absolutely.
You know, and it was like that, and then the other half of the people were you know, they grew weed, so it was like,
well, I'm in the Emerald Triangle, as they call it, and I remember back in the day, like, dudes would come in, just they want to spend money with you, you know, to get something done. And that's when, like, that's the thing too about, I don't smoke weed. I used to, but not anymore. But you know, those whole economies were based on that stuff up in Northern Cali. And you see these towns that had brand new trucks and this and that, and then all of a sudden now you see up there and it's like, wow, this really hit heavy as soon as it got legal. You know, because now they're not getting as much.
Yeah, definitely. I mean,
kind of got fucked out of their own money.
Yeah.
Well, it changes things, and it like no matter what, it took the like real profitability out of it to where, like, if you were like selling the shit, you did it on a way that now you have to be a corporate style mentality, business minded person to sell the shit.
And it's now up there, it's the guys that are doing it big, you know, they're doing it where they're legit and big and dispensaries. I mean, I just drove through the other day to my shop and there was a brand new billboard on the side of the freeway of a dispensary, and I was just like, man, this is crazy.
Yeah.
Even me.
Up everywhere.
Dude, I bought my first legal drugs the other day. I was pretty stoked about it.
I mean, my mom smokes hella weed and I go in there for her every once in a while and buy it. I'm just like, man, I can't believe I can just come in here and do it. You just see the whole evolution of marijuana where it's just become like this drug and everybody hated it. Now it's like this medicine and it's good for you. And you're like,
it's so weird.
Why didn't you guys figure this out in the first place?
Yeah.
It's so weird coming here from Texas and then, like, I'm walking around and people are just openly smoking weed and shit, and I'm like, you know, I feel uncomfortable because I'm like, I don't know, like, what's going on.
It was
like,
super weird.
I forget that it's legal out here. You know?
Well, we went to the big dispensary that everybody's like Planet 13, and that shit was like,
that shit sucked, dude.
It was not.
Our Uber said it was supposed to be the Apple Store of, like, dispensaries.
You go in there,
so
and
then
it's
the first snarky comment I made back to that was like, so it's overpriced and the lines are ridiculous.
You walk in and it's just the Walmart of the dispensary.
No, it's true. It's
the lines.
Apple Store, dude. The lines were ridiculous.
Oh man,
we found another one. It's super weird though. Like, it still felt illegal, right? Because you get buzzed into a door, and then you do your ID, they do all this shit with it, and then you buzz into another door, and it's like a room where everything's happening. And it always reminded me of like those movies where like they're walking up in the projects and they open the door and there's all these naked chicks walking around and cutting coke up and shit. Yeah. That's what it reminds me going into those rooms.
Yeah. It's weird, huh? It's kind of uncomfortable. They should make it more like an experience where you just come in and it's like, oh,
they're trying.
That's what the Planet 13 is like.
Well, they're trying to do it like that, but it still feels seedy a little bit, you know. And but I do like the fact that it's kind of becoming legal everywhere because I'm starting to use it more myself, you know, with anxiety and shit like that. But and trying to, because I drink too much, so I'm trying to replace it with something else that hopefully isn't as bad for me.
Like you just do them both now.
Yeah.
The smoking leads to drinking, then the drinking leads to smoking.
Exactly. So he's just making the full circle right now.
Well, the first time I came to NorCal, like I've never done drugs growing up. I was nothing. You know, I did like a couple psychedelics here and there. Yeah. And so I met my wife and she smokes all the fucking time.
She's from out there?
She's from Santa Clarita, SoCal.
Yeah.
And so when we went to NorCal, you know, like the first 4 customers I had in NorCal when I first moved up there grew weed. Yeah. You know, so they'd all give me some, and I was like, well, let me see what happens if I smoke this and I try to work, and it doesn't work.
It doesn't work. Yeah, no, it doesn't work for me either. I can't do it. I just want to go to sleep.
Yeah,
exactly.
No, I hate weed. Weed makes me fucking paranoid and freak out.
Yeah, I get paranoid as shit.
I'm already paranoid sober. And then when I smoke, it's bad.
Yeah.
So, man, like from the outside looking in, it seems like once like all the unknown shit blew up and that puts your paint jobs on a fucking billboard of America. I mean, how has it been like life for you since then? It's a broad question.
Yeah. Let's see. I've always pushed myself to where I've never wanted to be just. I don't like to be static. You know what I mean? Like I always want to push myself. So even back then, I was pushing myself. And the magazine thing was huge, and I always wanted to do like how-tos in magazines. I did a few of those, and then the paint stuff was cool, and then all these different bikes that I had on the magazines. Now all those magazines are gone. Yeah. And a lot of the stuff that I pushed myself through was like, I'm the first custom painter in the world to be sponsored by Monster Full Throttle, and I just came out with a Snap-on toolbox, which available now, but but no, stuff like that. Like I kind of like always forget like all the history of it, and like always like forget about like, because I'm always looking forward and not really trying to focus on the past. I'm always pushing like, what's the next thing, what I can do, and I always try and market myself well, but.
I think you do a really good job of marketing yourself and aligning yourself with the right companies that fit the style of everything that you do. So
and I always try and I try not to push people into a certain thing. Like if people want to work with me, I always try and work with them. You know what I mean? I don't want to like push them into a direction where they don't feel comfortable. I just a lot of times it's the right timing, the meeting people, traveling, doing that stuff. When we first started, and so Unknown hooked up with a guy that bought into Unknown that was a music producer guy, promoter guy. So I got to meet a lot of music stuff, go on a lot of that type of event stuff, get to really see how the inners and outers of that worked, how they operated, and I kind of applied that and funneled that into my own scenario, where to get work and to not do just what everybody else was doing, because you could be the best artist in the world and do the best work and not push yourself or not market yourself right, and they're gonna be like, who are you? Like, so
you're gonna get overlooked.
So you got to be, I went from overlooked to overbooked. So now it's like you got to be both. You got to do everything, and I just work by myself. I don't have I had some lady from State Farm Insurance call me the other day trying to get me to do some events, and is there anybody I could talk to, like your manager? And so I'm like, no, it's just me.
I am the manager.
Like people think I have like a whole slew of people behind me that are like,
That's how it is for a lot of people who do this stuff, though.
I like to keep it small, and I like to keep it more like when people call, I answer the phone. You know what I mean? Because I don't want to ever not be in tune with the customer.
Yeah, true.
You know what I mean? Like I never want to be that guy that's too cool for his customers. You know what I mean? Like I always want to be like, because a lot of what we do is you got to take their information and turn it into inspiration to make it a product for them. So you got to take what they're giving you, because they might not be an artist, they might not know. And I tell my customers, I'm like, hey, think outside the box. Go to the damn like ice cream aisle at the grocery store and look at all the colors. And just be like, don't think about like, oh, I want to paint my bike this brand new Mazda color. It's like, don't do that.
Or like look at this guy's Instagram and this bike. I love that color scheme.
Like think outside. Like I always tell my customers to look at stuff. I do it. That's why I try and tell them to do it. Is like look outside automotive paint and look at stuff that you can draw inspiration from.
I used to tell people all the time about looking into like nature books, and like the biggest one is like underwater, like coral reefs and fish.
Absolutely.
They always have the craziest color combinations on them that you would never, like on a palette for a vehicle, you would never hardly see it. But then it works in the tones of nature and stuff like that.
And I think
graffiti, another one.
Graffiti, street art, anything like that. Anything that does any other forms of art too, tattoo work, any of that stuff, you could see like pull inspiration from that. And I think that's where a lot of my color palette has differed from a lot of people over the years, just because I try and put colors together that you wouldn't, like if I said, hey, I'm going to do this color with this color, you'd be like, what? Dude. But when you put it together and you make it work and you're like, wow, that's sick, you know, that's dope.
The fucking Teal Breeze bike, man, when that thing came out, like when that one hit the market or hit the streets was when I was doing my Dyna, and I was falling in. I had been using teal a lot in my my logo and my other bikes is like pinstripes and stuff, but I was ready to go full flaked out teal. And that bike comes out and I'm like, I already committed to teal, but I was like, fuck, man, like no one else had done a teal and gold bike yet. And I didn't want to be number 2. I was cool with being 5. I didn't want to be number 2, so I ended up going like just grays and blacks and stuff. But that bike, man, that color palette, and then seeing it in that House of Color ad where he's doing the wheelie, and then the fucking question mark becomes like up straight, like that shit was classic. You know what I mean?
So the first Teal Breeze was teal and orange. And it was paneled out.
Oh, okay.
And then we did that one. And then I did something else. I don't know. I painted like 3 or 4 times. Nick Leonetti that owns Unknown with Buddy, him and I have this weird connection. We're really close. Like we're good friends. But like when him and I get together and like he'll come to the shop because he I don't know if you've ever met him, but he's like, he has this energy about him where he's just, you want to be around him. He's just like
charismatic,
good person. Like he's just like super, like he's just got a great energy about him. So when we're good friends, so when we get on a project and he loves paint, which a lot of people
I see you post a lot of pictures being at your shop and hanging out.
So he like comes to the shop when we got a project. And I'm like, hey, let's do this together. You know, let's do this. And then we're just at the end of the day, I'm like, wow, you know, that was an experience. Like this was awesome. So it's like one of those few experiences that I have working with like one of your good friends and like, I wouldn't say customer, just like somebody that I do work for. And you just come away with it, and it's not about the end product. It was like, wow, that was a bitchin' experience. You know, like that was fun. And that was like, that's every time we get together when he has a chance to be in my shop, it's always like that.
Does he live up there north with you? Or?
Yeah, he lives in Petaluma, the same town as me.
Scott from Simpson was telling me to get him on, and obviously you as well. He said that he was a really interesting guy. And I'd like to get that history of Unknown to bring out there. A lot of our clients, fucking listeners.
Give us money.
A hair club client.
I'm not only a listener, I'm also a client. But no, a lot of the guys are, you know, this whole thing stemmed from this culture of Dynas, FXRs, and performance motorcycles, and being a painter. It's like I can't help but want to have painters and people on like this, especially ones that like rely more on the motorcycle industry for their income, because they have a lot more to like bridge the gap between people that are listening for just mechanical purposes or fabricators and shit like that.
So I mean, the whole history of Unknown is, I mean, I only know it from what I know. You know, and it'd be, I'll talk to him, see if you can get him on here.
For sure. But you know, like, so you started, you know, like you brought up how you got sponsored by Monster, and what we were talking about on the phone I thought was really interesting, and I think that's the direction that a lot of things should be going in our paint industry, with brand ambassadoring.
I guess, sure.
Whatever.
Ambassadors.
But it's cool because, like I said, you know, even other established painters and builders across America, we still get influenced, if you will, by our peers. So it works.
And it's nice to see a company like Full Throttle and Monster that recognize that in me. And they also have Al as a brand ambassador, and they see like what we've done and who we are and our potential and this and that, and they work with us a lot on projects and events and stuff like that. And it's nice to be with a company that sees that, you know, that they get it, you know, they have a whole perspective on what you're doing. And some of these companies that are kind of older based, I guess you could say, they don't get a lot of the marketing that is now. You know, the now of marketing is not magazines, it's not the stiff like way of doing things. Like it's brand ambassadorships. It's getting people that are boots on the ground approach in certain genres, whether it's fly fishing or painting or anything. Like that person has to be an influencer in their environment to everybody around them. And they have to recognize that and push on their end to make it something that's going to influence everybody. Instead of just something that's just just the stiff way of doing marketing.
You get a lot of people that want to go that route, but they don't realize that the responsibility of actually providing a service for the people that are hiring you to do the brand ambassadoring.
Yeah.
And a lot of times, it's really easy to, in my opinion, I think you would agree, is that it's easy to sell products that you already use, and, you just keep doing what you're doing, but now you just tell everybody about it.
Yeah. And I've always been I use House of Color. That's what I use.
Yeah.
I've always used it, so now getting to work with them and helping them build their brand ambassadorship, and stuff like that is, it's been a dream come true just in that aspect. But they're in the early stages of it, and it's nice to see how it's like kind of evolving. I think companies are just, some of them get it and some of them don't.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? So I think Monster definitely gets it.
Yeah.
And they understand the value of it.
Yeah, for sure.
And I think that's something that a lot of companies should look into.
Yeah, it'd be, like I said, I've had some pretty harsh opinions, but I'm not going to lie. Like, talking to a lot of people here, like Steve Gibson was just here before this, and he has some good points, a good perspective about how he hustles here and how it works. And it went against a lot of what I've been saying, but yet I don't have as much experience being here and being boots on the ground like that.
Yeah.
Maybe it's because I'm a little intimidated maybe by a lot of the painters and people here, but
when I first came here years ago, I came here just ready to fuck shit up. Like, I was like, I'm here, I'm ready to show these people what I got and the potential that I have, and I'm not going to take no for an answer.
Yeah.
And
that's him. That's his kind of thing.
Yeah, and Steve, I love that dude to death. Like, when he came in, he did a helmet for me for Lost Highway, for a Simpson art show that I did along with House of Color at this event. And the helmet, when I pulled out of the box, I was just, there's no way that he did that.
Yeah.
And nobody knew about him.
Yeah.
Like, that guy came in and shook up all the 15 guys that have been airbrushing the same way in the automotive industry for the last 20 years. And he came in and just single-handedly just shook everybody up.
Yeah.
Intimidated all those guys.
He did.
And it's like, that dude is something else.
Yeah, I like to, like I said, so it's kind of changed my perspective a little bit. And I still feel like I have some truth to it, but I guess it's a lot of it because I don't know a lot of the inner workings. I haven't had a chance to sit down with much of the people behind the scenes of House of Color, and you know what I mean?
Yeah.
So I don't know where their head is at, so I'm assuming a lot of shit,
I don't know where their head's at. I don't know if they know where their head's at sometimes, but they
the last couple of years with the buying and the acquisitions of
it's been rough.
Yeah.
Imagine being a customer. Okay, so you're using one product, it gets acquired by this company, you get a whole new personnel coming in to do stuff, and then you get a couple of years later they get acquired by another company, so you get a whole nother personnel. And so I think like the past maybe 2 years since their last acquisition has been the one where they're actually like kind of gelling as a team, and now they're like, all right, this is our direction we're going, and this is what we're doing.
I think the booth down there is pretty fucking awesome. It was kind of, I thought it was a good idea of having it feels like a hub.
It does.
There,
It feels like you're not just this floating island of another paint company. It's like everybody's under one roof. It feels like there's a lot of support. The booth is the same one from last year. They modified a few things on it, but it's an amazing 2-story booth. Like, you can't, it's nicer than my house. So, it's just a pleasure to be here too, to do like stuff and see. Just like last night at that party, you see everybody that in the industry in one room. And I remember sitting back, I'm like, dude, I used to look up to that guy as a kid.
Yeah,
Mike Learn.
Same thing, yeah.
I looked up to that dude when I was a kid, like, man, that dude is the gangster. And I was just like, that dude's bad as fuck. And then the other day, he's like, hey, what's up, Taylor? I'm like, man, he knows my name.
Same.
That's my fanboy moment. I don't care about, like, I've met celebrities and music people and stuff like that. I don't care for shit about that. But, like, Mike Learn saying hi, it's like, whoa, dude.
Exactly. You've been doing recently, you did some stuff with the tequila company. What was all that stuff?
Yeah, I did some projects with Santo Mesquila. It's owned by Sammy Hagar.
Oh, that's right.
I haven't done too much stuff recently with them.
Oh, for real?
Once I got acquired by Monster, I didn't really want to be represented with the alcohol company. I don't know. It just felt like not
can't
really
mix them?
something. I mean, can't mix them. I don't know. I've never really tried that. But
Monster and whiskey or something, or tequila.
Yeah, tequila.
No, it's got to be
actually terrible. So
yeah. Well, there's so many. I mean, if you just look at like our world of painting, being around motorcycles and all the shit, like I think there's a lot of places where other companies can see value in our shit, and we all do pretty well on social media. I mean, compared to some dude that doesn't have any substance to himself, just like, hey, check out my kicks and shit like that.
Yeah, I've kind of
talk about me like that.
I don't know. The past few months, I kind of pushed a little away from social media just because I was just kind of getting a little bit tired of it, and I was dating a girl and it was just kind of like trying to make that work and this and that, and I was just not really focusing too much on the social media stuff, and then she did me dirty, so I was like, I need to start focusing on myself and getting healthy and going back to the gym and eating better and getting back on the social media train.
Yeah, I'm gonna quit drinking Sunday night. So that's my plan.
Yeah.
First time we've heard that.
Until the next Sunday night.
Dude, I gotta stop, man. Like it's
drink every night
this week, but I feel like this is the best way to go out. Like to just make yourself hate it. Yeah,
definitely.
Yeah.
But yeah, the working out thing. Like I'm at a point where I crossed that threshold where I can get right back into working out. Like I'm at a point now where it's going to take a couple weeks to get this ball moving. You know what I mean?
Your body definitely has muscle memory.
Yeah.
When you come back into the gym after a while and you haven't been there, your body starts, remembering.
I hope so.
Working out during this trip for whatever reason. Like,
yeah, we're walking around everywhere. He goes to the gym down there and runs.
we walk like 7 miles. Yeah, we walk like 7 miles, and then I go to the gym that night and I go run another fucking 2.
I don't know about you guys, but I can't sleep in a hotel room, man. I
hate it.
Well, we just had the fires up there.
Yeah.
And I was evacuated from my house, and the shop was evacuated and this and that for almost 2 weeks, and I've been sleeping like shit the past 3 weeks.
Sleeping in hotels. I'm ready to go home. I'm ready to have my bed. I'm ready to fucking just chill.
I'm ready to eat some good food instead of buffet food.
Yeah, overpriced as fuck.
Overpriced
buffet.
Yeah,
man. Dude, a water out here is like $5. A bottled water.
Everything costs. That's why we decided to dip out tonight.
Yeah.
Because staying here tonight, we're definitely not going to be having fun sitting in the room by ourselves. So we're going to go out. We're going to drink more. We're going to spend more money on food.
Yeah.
I'm sick of drinking right now.
Yeah. But yeah, I'm hoping in my mental head plan, I really want to spend the next couple of months. I got a lot of plans coming out for next year and like more of this type of stuff and more elaborate, video, all that shit.
Yeah.
And being on camera is not really my strong suit. So like I kind of want to practice that, and definitely having my body not look like a big fucking ball would help being on camera and shit like that.
Yeah,
so.
I do a lot of the YouTube stuff and my videos and
those videos are dope, man. So you still pushing through with those things or how?
Yeah, so we're gonna get ready to do a few more. I tried to do like a funny way of doing them instead of like the classic stiff guy that's a paint tech just going, this is how you do this and this is the 4-to-1 mix ratio and I gotta apply this medium wet coat, and they're just like, no, fuck that, I'm gonna do it the way I want to do it, which is just be funny like I am in the shop and film it. And Justin George, our photographer that does that, him and I get along really well. We vibe off each other. We fuck around with each other.
So it kind of makes it funner.
So it makes it fun, and that's what we try and capture on camera. Yeah. It's not about like, if a guy today at SEMA was like, oh man, I watch all your videos and I love them and this and that. When are you going to come out with more? And it's like, man, I got to really start coming out with more. It seems like, but and I try and mix that up with some of my own videos that just about the industry and where I'm from and this and that, and just. Because a creative person nowadays, there's no real like, if you go to school, there's not really a school for like what we do.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? There's no school for people that are real creative. I mean, there might be now, but when I was a kid, there wasn't shit. There was like, this is the river that you're going down. You're going to go with the rest of the fish, and then if you turn around and try and go upstream, we're going to hate you for it.
Yeah.
And I was a dude that would go upstream, and I would just hated school. So a lot of those videos now that I do too, I try and explain that to a lot of people and try and inspire some people. I've had a few people that have messaged me saying that they've quit their job, wanted to do custom painting they were doing on the side. They quit their job to go do that full time, and I sent them shirts and stuff, just to be cool. But
did you hear how that ended up for them?
They're still going. I mean, one of them.
I mean, that's good.
I was always like, no, you're in the best place.
Yeah, but I mean, but
yeah, a lot of people, I
kind of half-ass, like, I quit working full. I don't do custom paint, obviously, but I do, like, everything else. Yeah. So I kind of just go from shop to shop, and I'm self-employed that way. That way, they just pay me commission for whatever I do. I don't have to be there at a set time and shit. Like, I don't pay taxes, dude. I just get cash. Oh. So that's gonna be a problem later.
That's one way to do it. But I mean, it's I try because I feel like I have struggled with that for years, where they kind of put into your brain in the schooling system.
They definitely fucking try.
What you need to do to be happy in life.
If you don't go to college, you're gonna fucking be a loser.
Yeah. And it took me a long time to figure out, like, man, I'm different, and that's okay, and I just want to be that, and I'm gonna do this, and I might not be a millionaire, but I'm gonna be happy, and I'm gonna push myself to do a bunch of stuff.
That's the key right there. That's it, man. That's what a lot of people don't understand, is that I might not be a millionaire thing. Like, some people are so...
But you might.
So, the point is, a lot of people are, like...
They don't want to take that risk.
Caught on with, like, I need money, I need this, because I want to have this kind of car, this kind of stuff, and then they bury themselves on accident, and then they realize they can't enjoy any of the things they worked for because they have to keep working to afford those.
Absolutely.
You know what I'm saying?
Absolutely. And it's a vicious cycle. I mean, I've dated chicks that were some of the most talented people I've ever met that would blow me out of the water if they became a custom painter.
Right.
But they just couldn't get out of their head of, like, all right, I've just got to go do this job, 9 to 5, get a retirement, work 30 years, and be done.
Yeah. It's just safe.
It's for me, it's like,
fuck that.
Button heads, and it's like, it's safe, and I've never wanted to be safe, That's why I'm single.
Yeah. Cheers with your invisible drink.
Yeah.
I agree. I mean, it is really hard when you do this for a living and you can make money to ever conform to working for somebody full time.
Yeah.
I feel like it's very hard, though. It's a lot harder to be self-employed and to be on your own. The system isn't really designed for you to do it, because it's like you said, it's like your analogy for the fish. You're going against the grain, so it's like they tax you more, they do this more.
Yeah.
You got to pay for this. There's so much shit.
California. California's a motherfucker.
Yeah, so it's it takes, and it goes back to, like, someone that is doing it and succeeding and paying their taxes and doing all the shit right. It's that, to me, is like more of a pedestal of, like, man, like, however you're doing that, I got to figure out how to do it.
Success right there, for sure.
Because otherwise, we're all just fucking, like, like tattoo artists or whatever. Just, we got a skill, we hustle it, and we get paid. And then
I'm self-employed, I'm not paying taxes, but now I can give myself time to, like, do the music shit that I do on the side, So that was the whole reason for me doing that. But, like, I still worry about, my future later on. Like, fuck, man, I need to figure out how to do this properly, so that way I am paying
$100 a week away.
Yeah, I am paying taxes. I am doing this shit.
That's not a bad idea. Yeah.
Just put $100 a week. Just put it in the savings account. See what it does.
Save money for nothing, man.
If you don't want to put it in the bank, just get one of those, like, Mexican piggy banks that you have to break to take the money out, and just shove it in there, and you're never gonna know how much is in there. But when you need money, you're just gonna smash it one day, and you're gonna have
I got like all of $400.
You never know.
I need beer money tonight.
Yeah. Going to Vegas again.
So that's one of the things that I'm trying to do for the next couple of months that I was kind of telling you about, is that I've kind of not necessarily. I just found myself being so much more of a guy talking and partying and being this, like, almost like Bert Kreischer type individual, where you're trying to make sure everybody else is having a good time, so you're doing shit. So I'm drunk as fuck, I'm taking edibles, doing all this stuff, and it's taken away from my time doing paint jobs, focusing on art. And so the next couple of months, I really want to try to bag back on all the bike trips and all that shit. And
I mean, my biggest, I like to just, like SEMA, you're like here, it's like a vacation, but you're working. So I like try and work 6 days a week, 7 days a week, and I like try not to be anywhere else except at work or at home. Work at home. But then, you got to go out every once in a while and relax, and you get burned out. I mean, the burnout thing is real.
People, for sure.
It's a real thing. I mean, my body tells me when I'm going to get burned out, and I'm mentally kind of check out of stuff, and I'm just going through the motions, and I have to pull back and go, all right, I need a day off. I need a day off. I need to go fishing. I need to take my dog somewhere. I need to do something. And people like that work 9 to 5s, because for a long time, which I just recently started to understand, is like, not everybody is an artist. Not everybody thinks like you. So when I was young, I would be like, why aren't you thinking like me?
Yeah.
And to get into a customer's head and be like, you're not an artist, so I have to explain this to you. So that you can't explain to somebody that's not an artist, that's self-employed, what burnout is like.
Yeah, it's
because they don't know, because they go to work, they check out at 5, and they don't even think about it.
Yeah.
They got the weekends, they do whatever. Like, I'm working on a weekend.
Even if you're not, you're usually hard to check out of the thought process of being creative. What's the next? What all the different things that can be hugely like stressful. Like, man, is this color palette the right one?
Yeah,
until especially like when you planned it all out and you're doing it, and you're second guessing yourself. And
I was like, man, I want to do this T-shirt. I want to do this. I want to do this. I want to get my website better. I want to do this. I want to, like I get like that stuff when I'm off. Like. The color stuff and like I struggled with it for a long time, and then I just kind of all of a sudden past few years I just kind of got comfortable and confident, and I know that I can just put something together in the laboratory and make it work. You know what I mean? Like, like it's just.
Well, that's a good point though. Like the T-shirts, the website, all those other things that are kind of like other careers for people.
Yeah, I mean that's
like we have a hard time relinquishing the creativity of that to other people. I have a hard time doing that.
Yeah, and I like, I have a web store and this and that, and I always think about like, what can I do to make money while I'm sleeping?
Yeah, I'm the same thing.
Like what can I do what else can I do? What is nobody else doing? Like what can I do to make it different and new, and because that's like trailblazing, like that's what I've always tried to do, is like do my own trail, and I guess it's. And that's where a lot of that burnout stuff comes from. Is like you're cutting a new path, and people, you're trying new things, and you're trying to do stuff, and it's like, man, every once in a while I just want to fucking break. Like I just want to like take a day off or take a week off, but then I get away from the shop for a couple days, and I'm like,
you get antsy, man.
I'm like, man, I got to go paint something.
I'm feeling like that right now.
Yeah, no, I've felt it all week.
Being here is really inspiring, man.
It's inspiring. Yeah, I came from being stressed out because my shop almost burned down to coming here, and I'm like, all right, I'm here. I'm going to make the best of it. I'm not going to stress out anymore. I'm going to chill in the hotel room and just decompress for a day before I have to go to SEMA. And that's what I did,
Do they give are y'all able to get fire insurance out there at all?
Yeah, you get it.
Okay. Because I know some places like Houston, it's hard to get flood insurance.
But it
floods there all the time.
Really?
You know what I mean? Huh. So there's like certain places that because that natural disaster is so common, they won't insure those areas.
Well, it's a
like, can y'all get earthquake insurance?
yeah, you can get earthquake insurance. Okay. You can get all sorts of insurance out there, but I mean, it's all what you can afford. But the fire thing, I'm so over it. I'm so.
It seems like it's every fucking year. There's some other place like just up in smoke, man.
Yeah, and it's.
And saying it's just called because of the droughts from a couple years ago, or what is it?
No, it's the Pacific Gas and Electric, the PG&E. It's the electric company, and they just don't maintain their equipment. So what they did this year is when it would get windy and hot, they just shut the power off. So you're sitting there trying to work, and it's like, all right, am I going to have power tomorrow?
Right.
Like I'm all set up to clear this job tomorrow, and then you walk in, there's no power. You're like, what am I going to do now?
Yeah.
Go sand some other shit? Like, and it's been frustrating for everybody. I mean, they were taking it out on PG&E employees. There was one, I think it was in South Bay, Redwood City, or somewhere around there, with like somebody shot at a PG&E truck.
Oh, fuck.
Like they're getting pissed. Like people want the power, they pay for it. Like, why don't they give it?
And their equipment's just shitty, so the wind could knock things over and spark fires.
They turn off the power when it gets windy, and then what caused that Kincaid fire that we just had was they turned the power back on, and then something blew up.
Fuck, man.
So that it started the fire. It's like, man, you guys. So it's not like. The situation is right. Like, it's windy and it's hot, but the reason why it's on fire is because you're man-made what you did. So it's been pretty shitty. I don't know. It's pissing me off, but it is what it is.
Trying to save money is basically just fucking everything up.
Yeah. I think they're trying to avoid it, but in the avoidance, they're still causing
that's
issues.
why they went bankrupt. It's because 2 years ago it cost them so much money they just folded.
I mean, fuck, all of Napa was on fire. 2 years ago is when it was?
2 of my friends got killed up in there.
Fuck, man.
Yeah, one didn't even wake up. Him and his 2 dogs in his house, just dead.
Damn, that sucks.
In the middle of the night. It came at 2 a.m, and it took out neighborhoods. I mean, I tried to hop in my car and go to the shop, and it was like 8 lanes of freeway with fire going over it, jumping the freeway, and you're like, you can't go through this.
Yeah, there's no way.
You know, like it's a full-on wall of fire, and you know, it just took out. I mean, a city. You know what I mean? Homes, like neighborhood, like a whole neighborhood gone.
Damn.
You know?
That's fucking insane, dude.
What's also crazy is just, you know, because like I said, when that was fire was going on in Napa, we were kind of passing through just, you know, the Bay Area for the most part, and just breathing it for a while.
Oh, yeah.
Like we were driving from San Francisco and we were going to Venice that night.
Yeah.
And we got to Venice and we're fucking like just
My throat was,
congested.
like,
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, just hurt.
It was terrible. And
Yeah.
I mean, it's not like you're burning wood, like you're burning plastics and like all
I had a
sorts of
gnarly
stuff.
ass headache and just, I don't know, man. That's just trash.
At my shop, in my industrial park, it's where they took all the foundation concrete, and then they took all, because you think about everybody's got a barbecue, so all those propane bottles, so they took all the propane bottles there, and they took all the burned up cars. So they took over a gigantic like yard. So every time you go to work, you just look at these burned up cars, and it was depressing. You're like, man, this is like.
Yeah.
I mean, they weren't like, oh, a little bit burned. Like these things are roasted.
Like they were just
Yeah.
You know, that was somebody's car. Like that was
Yeah.
somebody's livelihood. That was somebody's house. That's somebody's concrete that was on their foundation. Like it's pretty rough.
Have you ever had the notion to get out of California at all or move somewhere else?
Yeah, absolutely. I recently dated a chick that went to Portland to go to school, and I was gonna move up there, and you know, things didn't work out with her or whatever. But I like it up there. You know, it just seems like everywhere's cheaper. You know,
Well, it definitely is cheaper.
I mean, my dream was to have a shop at my house. You know, that's really what I want. You know, so
Yeah.
Sounds like you need to move to Texas.
Yeah. You know, Texas is good in that fact. I mean, we just don't have where you're from, Petaluma, like just driving around there, like it just feels exotic. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And maybe if you're from there, you don't get it.
no, you don't see it.
But, you know, like we looking out this window and seeing a mountain, we don't really have that at least in the populated side of Texas. You know,
Yeah.
West Texas, there's mountains, there's deserts, there's cool shit, but it's
There's, like,
also,
nothing out
you
there.
got El
Yeah.
Paso and then, you know, small towns.
I'm like an ocean boy. You know, I grew up abalone diving and salmon fishing and poke pulling for eel and stuff like that. So like I have to be by the ocean. Like I just
I don't know what kind of like the quality of ocean you're looking for here, but there's this place called Galveston.
Oh yeah, there we go.
Pretty shitty.
Yeah, so if you just really just gave up,
Yeah, that's on the Gulf though.
Yeah. Yeah, that's you know, because ever since things have changed for us, where our money comes through the mail for the most part with work from all over the country, it's made me think like, fuck, man, I could move, I could live
Absolutely.
possibly anywhere, but
Yeah.
Absolutely.
you know, we were looking recently at the potential to move to Phoenix, but then I was like, I don't feel like I contend with the other painters and builders in Phoenix because I'm in Dallas and my work might come from New York one day and Cali here, blah blah blah.
Absolutely.
But I feel like if I was in the I say cesspool, but just the pool of people there,
Yeah.
that I don't know if I would have the same. I don't know how it would be, and I don't know if I'd want to be there. You know, it'd be cool to have other friends that paint, but you know, you just never know. Like I don't like. I love not having drama with anybody, and I don't want to be somewhere where it could become drama. You know.
When I moved into my shop when I was 22, there was 6 custom paint shops in my area that I could drive to within 15 minutes. And my shop, it wasn't my choice. This is where the guy that I had an opportunity to have a shop gave me a place to rent was next to a guy who he was like an airbrush artist, but he was like an artist, you know, like he was never there. Like he didn't really do a lot. And he was pissed. He came over, we got in a fist fight, you know? And then
fuck yeah, dude.
like that mentality was old school, but that was before there were social medias where everybody in that area was fighting, fucking each other over, trying to do this and that, like cutthroat. And now I think there's only maybe one other custom paint shop that doesn't really they do collision and custom stuff where I'm at, you know, and I'm pretty much it. But I mean, 99% of my stuff isn't from where I'm at now.
Yeah.
You know, I got a helmet right now from Switzerland.
Yeah.
You know, like it's all over, you know, and it's that's where the appeal of moving wherever and having my own place and just having a gang load of French bulldogs, like, because I have a French bulldog, and just chilling and maybe pop out a couple kids. That's what, you know, that's what my goal is, you know, and still be able to do it just California, the overhead just to run the shop is so ridiculous. Like the Bay Area air quality permits and all the stuff you got to jump through. It's like, why am I doing this sometimes?
And that's what I wonder, like, is it and especially like custom paint, right? Like compared to like a collision center, there's like you're not going through as much paint as a body shop doing overalls and things like that. So it's hard to ask for special treatment and stuff, but realistically it's hard getting permitted and all this shit the same way as a shop that's doing $1 million a year.
Yeah, and it's because the booth that we have has had that permit, so it's easier for us to just keep going with that than to sit there and try and say I'm an artisan shop. I tried to get in the shop in Petaluma that was like kind of near downtown, and it used to be a part of a body shop, and the city worked with me and they're like, oh, so you're not a body shop but you're an artist. I'm like, yeah, so let's put you in an artisan shop as a permit, like as a business license. Then I got to the fire department and they're like, nope.
That's weird. That doesn't make any sense.
You're like, what? Like, yeah, I can't be in that building with a booth.
Dude, I've worked in paint shops my entire life. I've had the most ready to blow up the shop situations.
At any point.
At any point in time, and nothing's ever happened. Open flames in the paint booth.
Smoking
nothing.
Yeah.
I don't smoke cigarettes, but like I've had propane heaters.
I worked at a shop that used to do propane heaters.
Yeah.
In a crossflow booth, they would put the propane heater out in the corner of the booth, and you'd be spraying. And I remember my old boss I'd be like, "Man, isn't that dangerous?" And he would go over with clear in his gun and spray the front of the propane thing where it's on like lit, and be like, "Look, it's not doing anything." Like, they swear like you're spraying gasoline, Like
and it's always been weird, and it's like, like. I have paint in a fireproof cabinet. Like, how much more fucking fireproof you expect me to be? Yeah. And I think a lot of it might have to do with waste, but that's easily manageable when you're making not a lot of waste. If you're not spraying a lot, that means you're not dumping as much.
In the custom industry too, I know guys, there's very little waste. I mean, because they don't have the budgets like a big production shop, and they're not some guy like when you go to a production shop, they're just mixing shit together and just hurrying up and getting it out the door, and like they got 8 ounces of clear left over, like, oh, whatever, at least I got the job out fast. So California, it's my home. I'm born and raised. I was born in San Francisco, live in Petaluma. I haven't really lived anywhere else, I moved out of my house. My mom is from Scotland, and she came to San Rafael when she was like 10, I think, or something like that. So my grandparents raised me for the most part. My parents were terrific partiers, but they weren't great parents. You know what I mean? So my mom tells a story about me getting into her cocaine stash when I was 3 years old, and rather than freaking out and like trying to get me to the hospital, she just ordered more, and it's just like
she's got like pictures and shit, like Polaroids.
Yeah, and she regrets it now. I love my mom to death. My dad's passed away, but he passed away about 4 or 5 years ago. But he was a really bad alcoholic, and that's what killed him.
I always tell my brother, because we're 13 years apart, and I always say that I got crackhead mom, because mom, when I was a kid, was doing coke all over the place, and maybe a little crack, I don't know. And then she got her life together after she had him, but like that was kind of like the part of the progression to get her shit going right. So we always joke about that, like, you had crackhead mom and I had fucking good credit mom.
Mom wasn't around for him because she was doing drugs. Mom wasn't around for me because she was working.
I always fuck with her, because what was it, we were at the house a couple weeks ago, and like you were like, man, I gotta go to the hospital, and she still got insurance, and I've never had health insurance ever.
Oh, really?
So mom's like saying something, I'm like, must be nice to go to the fucking dentist, motherfucker. You know what I mean?
I don't have dentist insurance.
Well, you had. Whatever, motherfucker.
Whatever, dude.
Yeah, no, I
they hate us because they ain't us. Butter and jealous.
So my grandparents pretty much raised me. They're Scottish traditional people, so it's I was lucky. My grandpa was a bricklayer, mason, so he a concrete worker. So he just worked me as a child, and that's kind of like
that in there.
Drilled it into my brain that everything's better when you just go to work.
My grandfather's the same way. My grandfather was the kind of guy that had a job and then had a garage at his house. He was working on cars. He was building on additions to the house, painting shit. So having that influence my whole life was helped me. I don't think I'm as I work as hard as I used to, which I'm, like I said, I'm trying to get back into that mentality. But you know, those years of doing the 9 a.m. to 2 a.m., 3 a.m. things, like we did that shit. That was all of 2016. You know, working for 70 days straight to get ready for an event.
Exactly.
Trying to get bikes done. It's
that's
like
a burnout.
That's a burnout.
Yeah.
And that's what happened. It burnt us out. And then, you know, I started, you know, but having my grandfather's influence has always been the thing that's kind of kept us like, you know, this is our responsibility to be this person to provide. And, you know, it's always been helpful, you know.
And it's a different generation. I mean, those guys, I mean, my grandpa was in World War II. He was a radio operator for Montgomery in North Africa in a tank. And got the shit blown out of him multiple times. His hair turned white when he was 22 because he had such bad PTSD. He was in a hospital and he's Scottish, but it was in England, I think. And then he went back again, you know, like that was just the way it was. That was like, they're trying to like kill us and we have to defend our home. And there's no other way. Like you got these kids now that wouldn't know anything hard if you smacked them in the face. Like and I get these kids that try and work for me and you're like, dude, you don't know how to work. You know, like.
So do you ever try to take on apprentices and stuff like that?
Yeah, I had a female apprentice, Allison, that worked with me for years, and she was the best apprentice I ever had. She wouldn't complain. She wouldn't do anything. I can put any task in front of her, and she would conquer it. And she was an amazing artist too, and she still is.
What do you think is like probably the best like outlook for an apprentice coming into the shop as far as like
I was an apprentice, so I know the end result is that you want to go do it on your own.
Right. Of course.
But hard work, determination, talent, I mean, those are only a few things that you have to be to go out and do it on your own. I mean, you have to want it. I've had apprentices that have worked for me for years turn around, try and do it on their own, and then they come back, they're like, man, I don't know how you do this. Like, how do you just deal with the customers? Like, I don't want to do this. You know, like, I want to just go sand for you again. You know, and it's that mentality of growing up with a family that was traditional Scottish. I mean, my grandma never drove a car. My grandpa always drove her around. My grandma machined bomb parts during World War II.
Damn, dude.
And she got a check till the day she died. She lived till she was 93.
Damn.
Every month she'd get a check. So you don't get that nowadays. You know what I mean? What you get is people that want to be the dude but don't want to work to be the dude. You know what I mean? Like, I deal with that every day.
Especially because of social media, because, you know, like, there wasn't social media when you were grinding in the mid-2000s or late 90s, and then you finally, you know, you're here, and you're Taylor Schultz now, and everybody sees you doing this shit, and they're like, fuck, man, like, I want to be doing that next year. And it's just not going to happen.
No, it doesn't. And, you know, a lot of social media is attention. I've never been one to really like attention that way. You know, like, especially, like, we see chicks, it's like, what's the purpose of a selfie? You know, it's like attention. So you see, like, you know, a lot of it is when I was a kid growing up, the same age that these kids are now, I wasn't at the shop taking pictures of me working until 2 a.m. for attention from other people. You know, like, it wasn't about that. It was like, I'm going to get this job done so I can get paid so I can eat this weekend. You know, like, so I could pay my bills. And it wasn't about the other thing that people can see. It wasn't, hey, me, look at me, look at me, look at me. It was like, all right, I'm going to do this because I need to get paid.
I get social media burnt out every once in a while.
That's where I might burn out on it.
I might be very like open the doors of my life and world, and then I feel like I kind of like want to shut it for a while and like not have you know what I mean, because you feel like you become too vulnerable that way in my sense.
A lot of people have told me that I'm kind of mysterious about social media. Like, I don't really put a lot of personal stuff out there. I don't seek attention. I just put my work out there. You know, I don't like seek like, for a long time I never had pictures of myself on social media. For years people didn't even know what I looked like. And then I started doing that, this and that, and then, you know, that relationship stuff that goes along with that too. It's like, oh, who's this chick and who's following you now and all that BS. It's like, dude, I'm so sick of that shit, dude. I'm so over that shit. Like, I just, you know, but social media is it's a necessary evil. That's what it is. It's a necessary evil. It is. And I try and use it as a business thing as much as anything else. But nowadays it seems like people are using it as a dating site or something. You know what I mean? Like, it's kind of gotten away from a lot of what it should be.
Dating site.
He's like, I own it. He's like, I own it.
Everything is literally a dating site.
Yeah.
So
it's weird, huh?
Well, it's you know.
I mean, you're not gonna fucking.
Well, maybe because you're younger, you don't see it. But like when I was a kid, like we didn't have that shit. You met a girl at a bar, you know, or like
shit,
at the
dude,
gym.
you try to meet a girl at a bar these days, they're just like, they look at you all kinds of crazy. You go up to them, talk to them, they'll fucking laugh you away, man.
I remember I started to date, what happened? I started to talk to this chick, and I didn't grow up texting. You know what I mean? Like I could text whatever, but I'm like to the point, real, like this and that. Like I don't play games. You know what I mean? Like I get with it or don't get with it. And then I remember I called her on the phone. She's like, answers like, what's wrong? Like, I'm just calling to ask you out. You want to go out with me? She's like, why are you calling me?
Yeah, just text me.
Like, you never had a guy fucking call you before?
Yeah.
You know, like that's shit. I'm like, all right, I'm done.
Chicks are weird about that.
Does it not like
shit like that's weird nowadays?
Yeah.
Somebody calls me, and that's kind of what I'm like.
weird.
I'm like, that's an emergency. Somebody's fucking calling me.
Like, why are they calling me? And then it's like, I know you got your phone. Why aren't you answering?
Yeah, exactly.
And then they text you back, and you're like, what's the point? Just have a text phone.
Well, I get in trouble because, I don't know, and I'm probably just an asshole basically, but you know, I've been with my wife for almost 6 years now, and you know, when you first meet, then fuck, all day long, you just can't stop talking to this person. But then now I see her every night, and you know, we try to carry on conversations during the day, and sometimes it just gets hard because I don't know, man.
My problem with like communication like that when it comes to chicks is like it's like an out of sight, out of mind kind of thing. So like when they're not around, I'm not concerned about what's going on with them. As fucked up as it sounds, I'm just more focused on like right here and now. You know,
I'm pretty sure I'm like an 80-year-old man stuck in a 35-year-old body because like I don't play games. Like I don't deal with like. It seems like nowadays you treat them like shit and they stick to you like mud, and then when you try and be nice to them, they don't like you.
Yeah, that's why I got all these chicks fucking on my nuts, dude, because I treat them all like shit.
Yeah, I'm not that way. I've never been that way. Like I can't do it, so I'm like, man, what am I doing wrong?
No, what happens is like you try to be nice, and then you end up getting fucked.
Yeah,
and
they want to
change. You end up in positions that you don't want to be in. You know, you get stuck with fucking psycho chicks that way. Honestly, you gotta kind of.
Well, just as much as all the social media dating and all this shit is like psychologically different for like I grew up with you. Yeah. I went through all of high school without a cell phone.
Yeah, I had a pager.
Yeah, I wanted one, but I just we didn't. But no, like it's just different. You had to, find other ways to gain the confidence to talk to a girl.
Yeah.
Or
and they got to know you for you.
Yeah.
And not what social media presents to them.
Yeah, I mean, we never were like, hey man, you want to go around the corner? I'll show you my dick later or some shit like that. Like now kids are like fucking, they got
Snapchatting their dicks the first day they meet them. It's weird.
Check it out. Great lighting.
No, it's weird.
But yeah, I mean, I don't know, man, because I mean, I met my wife on Instagram, and it was like super, like it was awesome. I mean, she was living in Florida at the time, from LA. I met her. We started talking. This is before like just the world was so crazy on Instagram and whatnot. And then we flew back and forth for a couple months, and then she moved to Texas, and then I got lucky and started landing jobs in NorCal. So we drove to NorCal and went and saw our family, and everything worked out well. But our relationship was so all over the country for the first year, and then it was like, okay, now we need to find a house to rent. And you got to be stationary. She didn't work for a year, things like that, and it was kind of tough, kind of a culture shock basically, because she moved into like, we went to Cali, got home, went to North Carolina, got home, went to Sturgis, got home, went to Cali for 3 months, came home. So we never really had a home here yet,
And I think that's like, I always tell chicks I have a non-traditional lifestyle where I'm here now and I gotta go to New York next week, and I gotta work my ass off during the week, and then I'm gonna be here, and it's like.
But there's so many people that travel for work all the time. I never understood why it's so complicated, because I have kids too with other women, and one of them's like, oh well, you're always gone. I'm like, it's my fucking job. You know what I mean? Like,
it's my job.
If I had a suit and a briefcase, would it be okay?
Yeah.
Like, why is it not okay? Because
I think that plays
I
on a
got a
lot of-
T-shirt on and some Dickies, and I'm having a good life. You know what I mean? Like,
That kind of stuff plays on a lot of insecurities in relationships too.
I think nowadays a lot of people are just insecure.
As fuck, and they're not willing to admit it. That's the problem.
And they don't know how to communicate.
Exactly.
yeah,
And
They
the
don't.
communication with people nowadays there is none.
Yeah.
The way of communicating is not talking to you.
Yeah.
yeah,
They're like, if I just ignore them, they'll get what I'm trying to say.
Yeah, like it's frustrating. I don't
Yeah.
know. I'm always like, all right, just give me an answer so that way we can close this and I can move on to the next chapter. And there's like,
Yeah,
whatever.
exactly.
it's a mess.
It's a mess out there.
What time did you say you had to get back down there?
I don't know, what time is it?
3:19.
Oh, we got time.
Cool.
Cool. I gotta pee.
So where do you think everything's going for you though? I mean, like I said, you got these opportunities with Monster and working on the House of Color thing. Like, what's something you're really looking forward to without sharing, the grind, I guess?
I mean, the Snap-on deal was huge for me.
That was cool,
The
yeah.
toolbox stuff. So what we're doing is we're doing a line of toolboxes. I think there are 3 models that I personally hand pinstripe, and then they're clear coat, powder coated over, and then they assemble the toolbox and sell it as a Schultz Designs toolbox. So you can get it on any tool truck.
Yeah,
That's a big thing for me.
that's got to be a pretty good honor because I mean, who else is doing that besides like maybe Ed Roth with like some Ratfink shit? I think that might have been Matco though. Did the
Yeah, it was
Roth thing.
Matco, I believe, but they, that's kind of like a digitized version that they get made somewhere
Yeah,
else.
yeah.
This is like they
Hand
sent
pincer.
me a pallet full of parts.
Yeah, you said you did 300,
320.
320 toolboxes. God damn.
And they, I mean, that's just the tip of the iceberg. We're going to probably do thousands of them, and if my hand keeps it
Yeah.
up, but it's just one more thing that nobody else has done that I just have the honor to do,
Is it about having like the confidence to walk up to these companies or reach out to them and things like that, or what?
Some of them approach me,
For real.
and some
It's kind of like once you get on with something, then people see it that way, maybe, or
yeah, and like I had a company the other day that just said they liked my look. They wanted to use my look, and I didn't know if the lady was trying to hit on me or what. But
Cute.
it's I'm covered in tattoos and whatever, and getting on with certain companies like Monster and I guess it does kind of evolve into other things. I guess that's just human nature. But
yeah,
and then you work with certain people. Like if you work with this person, they know your work, and then they know somebody that's looking for something that you can provide, and then they put you and two together, and then all of a sudden you're doing that, and it's like, all right, cool, but it's snowballs a little bit. But I mean, you gotta sell yourself too.
Yeah, you got to be able to do that.
And you got to be able to sell yourself and command what you want. Like if I'm gonna go do an event and go work all day, and this is my day rate. Like that's what it is, and then if you try nickel and dime this and that, it's like, that's not worth it. I can go stay at home and make more than that,
Yeah.
like, so you gotta make sure that, you get what you deserve.
The communication's there.
Communication. Yeah, definitely. But as far as like where I think it's going, I'm just going to keep doing stuff like that. Keep doing me, keep painting cool shit. I've been telling a lot of people no lately because some people I don't want to do the same thing over and over again.
Yeah.
People, they don't want to think outside the box, or, they don't have the budget that you want. As well as I know, these bikes take time.
Yeah.
And if you're not willing to pay for the time, I don't want to provide my time.
Yeah. For me, like, I've been on this kick where I want to like limit the amount of bikes that I do. That way, because we've found ourselves traveling a lot more. And what sucks is like when you have the opportunity to travel and do something, whether it's just doing a podcast for a week in Phoenix or something, but then you like, I don't like feeling like I got someone's bike in my shop that, I'm holding them from getting their bike back on the road.
Yeah, and that's
so it's like,
I'm at the point right now where I can't wait to get back and finish this FXR I'm doing right now.
Yeah.
I got like, I don't know, 10 bikes I'm doing right now.
Yeah.
And I couldn't work for a week and a half, for the fires. And I'm like, I gotta get back.
So I wanted to try to hopefully like cut off certain types of projects in the year. That way I don't have to, I can go to Sturgis and feel okay about being there for a week and really soak up what it is and look for opportunities and then come back and, I can always do helmets in between because they're quicker and shit. But And then also when you're sitting on someone's helmet for a couple of months, or have them in paint gel, as they say, it's not like they're not tripping out because you're not holding their bike back from being finished or going to this event or this rally or this ride or whatever the thing is.
And the hard thing too is like in California, like people ride year round.
Yeah.
There's no slow season, so these guys aren't taking their it's winter time, it's snowing, I'm gonna take my bike apart and bring it to you. Like that's not a thing there, you know. So it's like,
well, it's crazy because like a lot of people in like Phoenix and here in Nevada, like they pull their shit apart in June, you know, because it starts getting 115 degrees and they ain't trying to ride.
Yeah,
you know,
smoke your motor. Yeah, no, it's you know, just trying to tell people. You know, I've learned recently and been starting to understand a lot more of how to communicate people and not dumb it down to where they can understand it, but like get on their level of selling what I want to sell them because I know the potential and what they got. Like I'm doing an FXR right now for a guy in Oregon, and he's got a great budget, and I sent him photos the other day of it based in silver with metal flake. And he's like, "Why is it silver?"
Yeah,
I'm like, come on, like it's just the base. It's just gonna have candies over it, you know, stuff like that. So I
get that too.
That's why I hate sending people progress photos.
Well, you know, I don't know if you do this, but I've always found a much more comfort and less of a stressful, like when you're delivering, because I like to do sketches of things first, and it saves me so much tape and time, and but you know what I've been doing with customers too is that you can kind of tell like certain customers, like you're not going to work well with them, you know.
And that's why over the years you learn that and you say no. You know, a lot of people that come to you nickel and diamond trying to get more out of you and trying to control the process or this and that, I'll beat it, you know. Like I've never sketched a bike.
A lot of people are like that,
you know, like I've never sketched a helmet or anything. I've you know, certain companies want to see something like that. You're working with corporate stuff maybe, but a lot of people come to me because they know what I do and my style, and they know that, and they're prepared to pay for that. Yeah, you know, where if it's somebody that's coming off the street and they're like, "Well, I want to see a sketch and I want to know what I'm getting and this and that," I'm like, "Well, I'm not that guy, dude." Yeah, you got to become, and it's usually the older guys that don't have social media that come to you because they saw somebody's bike you painted.
And see, I don't like to work for people that don't find me because of my work, because then you're living up to an expectation that you don't understand what their expectation is.
Yeah, exactly.
If they follow you or your work and they come at you, then you're on the right page from the beginning. Now you just got to hope that y'all's personalities.
Yeah, and they're usually come in respectful, and they usually come in knowing that it's gonna be expensive, or it's gonna be, you know, this amount of time, and they know that that's an expected thing. Or if somebody comes in that doesn't know that, and they're like, "Well, why is it so much? And why doesn't it take it so long?"
Yeah, exactly.
It's like, well, because shit takes time, and I got 10 guys behind you that,
you know. For a long time, like when I first started being my own business type thing, it was always like you had this like bargain mentality, like we're going to be the best prices, the most affordable prices, and the quickest turnaround. And the older I've gotten, I was like, that is stupid. You know what I mean? Like the main, even with time turnarounds, like I still try my best to do things as fast as possible. Yeah. But the bottom line is, the longer I take, the better it is. You know,
and you're limited by chemicals. I mean, you're sandwiching a bunch of chemicals on a piece of metal or plastic, and the product's going to be better in the end if you let that product dry before you put on the next layer. You know, like if you, like I metal flaked out that FXR before I came here when I could go work at the shop for a day. And I'm like, hey, I'm going to let it sit while I'm
it'll gas out
in SEMA, and by the time I get back, it'll be nice. And I have a bake booth, but I mean, still, you want that shit to dry, you know? Yeah. And that way you don't have to worry about anything. You know?
And that's one thing. So it's like when I do bikes now, man, I like to, you know, if they hit me up and say, hey, you know, I'm trying to do this bike for X amount, or Sturgis, SEMA, whatever the case may be. Yeah. Then right then I'm like, okay, that's impossible. I can't do it in that time frame, because of prior engagements or not just enough time. Yeah. But like if it's like, look, we're doing a bike and I just want to make it dope, you know, when can you get it in? And then, you know, I always tell people the same thing too, man. Like, I want to get your shit done as quick as possible because I want to get paid. Yeah. I want to be done with this bike. I want another product of ours out there. I want you to get your shit. But I've had bikes that I just couldn't find the motivation to do for a while.
Absolutely.
Or I couldn't find the within the parameters of what they were wanting. I couldn't find the idea yet. Yeah. You know, and it sucks because, you know, I'm like, all right, you're next, and then that's when I try to indulge my
their
focus,
and turn it into inspiration for them to figure out what you're doing. And you got to read people too.
Well, the other thing is like when some, like say for a helmet for us, like there's like usually a 2 or 3 month wait period, right? And so if I always get their initial ideas when we start, that way I know we're on the same page. But I always tell them like wait until I'm ready to start doing the helmet. Then let's go over it again, because in 3 months your ideas can change. Everything can change.
Absolutely.
And then we can move from there. And that's what I do with the bikes and everything. That way, because I'm that way. If I sketch a bike for myself now and I'm not painting it until December, it ain't happening. That's gonna go in a folder or whatever. You know what I mean?
And I think a lot of it too, like at least for me, is I paint a lot of stuff that I would do for me. And I feel like a lot of it is you're giving a piece of yourself away. And my mom always says, like, well, how many pieces you got left? Because you're giving yourself away a lot, you know, and then all of a sudden something inspires you to do something else, and then you get another fire lit, and it's a non-traditional way of thinking. You can't just show up to work and be like, all right, I'm going to do this one today, that one tomorrow, this one, this. It's like people need to understand that. Like sometimes you just don't have the inspiration to do it yet, and you got to find it. And then you get excited, then you go through all the emotions of doing it, and then when it's done, you're like, all right, where's the next one?
Well, I just hate when sometimes like that project's the next one, but it's like the other one's squared away, ready to go after this one, but this one isn't. And I'm, I don't want the customer to be pissed because I skipped the other one ahead because that one was ready for me mentally and everything. But
sometimes you got to do that just as an artist, and I get it. I do the same thing.
For sure. What how's the thing work? Cause so when Unknown got it sponsored by the monster thing, all the bikes are black with the logos. How do you incorporate into that? I know you do those paint jobs as well, right? So
a lot of those bikes have to be that for NASCAR because they're on the NASCAR circuit. So they do shows at NASCAR. Sometimes they lead the pace car during the race, and Monster is really strict about their logoing. About how much black's behind it, how much this and that, real specific about, and those are stickers. That's not, it has to be a certain, they send me the stickers. I can't print them. So we buy a whole nother set of sheet metal, paint them up, and then they run it for the season.
That's cool. Because I've noticed on some of them, like they'll have the black Monster tank and the tins, but the side covers will still have the custom paint on it and shit. Nick's
been doing that lately because he just tries to pull in a little bit of his flavor into it, and that's...
They get on his ass about that, or...
I guess sometimes, probably. I don't know. Like I've had helmets that I've done for them where people have said, "Oh, you can't run that because there's not enough black behind the Monster claw," and stuff like that. So, I mean, but they go through a set of sheet metal every season.
I haven't seen one of those deals like any of the stuff with them doing them on the tracks and shit like that. But it seems pretty cool, man.
It's a they're filming this weekend in Tucson, Arizona for the Unknown Ride 2 or whatever it is that they call it. So they did the one in Oakland, now they're doing the one in Tucson.
That Oakland one was fucking dope, man.
It was definitely, I wasn't there for it, but I know I had to paint a bunch of stuff before that. And the screwed up thing was I had a bunch of stuff to do for the one that they're filming now, and I couldn't even get it out of my shop to do it if I wanted to go somewhere else and do it because of fires,
So they just block it off so you can't even get to your shop
National Guard,
Wow.
They shut down the entire freeway.
Fuck.
And you can't even get there through the side. Like the sheriffs are everywhere because of looters. That's what they don't want. They don't want people going in there and stealing shit.
What's up? Let me go get some important things out of here.
That
way it doesn't hit the ground.
So I just had a bunch of snap-on stuff to do, so I just strapped at my house for days on end. But those guys, man, I love them to death. They have so much cool stuff going on. Just to be a part of it and to be part of it over the years, because they're all my friends. We I wouldn't say grew up because I didn't know them when I was a kid, but like from
probably hanging
18
those shops
years old
and shit,
up. It's like they had a store in downtown Petaluma at one time, and that's how I met Nick. I went in there and Nick used to paint.
He did.
Yeah,
all of them were like dirt bike guys, right?
So Nick and Justin, they were dirt bike guys, and Buddy, he was a dirt bike guy, but he rode like a yellow Suzuki 1000 street bike, and he just put that thing through the paces. And and then Cade coming up from Ventura once all that stuff. I remember when Cade came up for the Rip Cedar Rider show, and he just did the longest wheelie I ever seen, and I was just like, dude, who is this little gingerbread kid? Like, who is this guy? But yeah, Cade's one of my good friends as well. Painted a couple of his bikes.
That recently you did that helmet too, the series with Bell.
Yeah, so I did a signature helmet with Bell, and we sold, I think, over 1,000 of them, mostly in Europe. So I painted one, they take it to the factory, reproduce it, and then they put my logoing on it, which was amazing. Like, I've never experienced it. I'm still kind of in shock on that one. Yeah. Because it happened so fast. I did one and went in production, they sold all of them. It's like, all right, I guess that's it, But I want to do another one. Yeah,
that shit's cool.
Yeah. Bell's one of the few companies that can do that.
They have a lot of money backing them, or just the company is just a bigger.
It's a big company. Yeah. So they have all sorts of genres of helmets. You go to their location, which is in Santa Cruz, which is where their headquarters is, which is 2 hours from my house. I mean, they do bicycle helmets. They do, all sorts of stuff.
They're a very large company in that, right? Yeah. But I mean, you've really helped. I mean, hell, the unknown thing and the paint work y'all did is really what I think helped bring Simpson into the motorcycle. The motorcycle world.
Well, we couldn't afford a Bell, or we couldn't afford a Rye, we couldn't afford a Shoei, we couldn't afford all those other brands, but we could afford a Simpson, and a lot of us would go to Wednesday night drags and drag race with the Simpson helmet because it was the most certified helmet for the least amount of money, or most affordable, So, yeah, they got hooked up with Simpson early, and they're one of their main sponsors is Simpson as well. Yeah. And the Simpson helmet has been kind of that standard design forever, and it's been appealing to everybody, and you see all these other companies trying to chase that carrot, and it's like they got that style, and it's Simpson's a great company too. It's nice to work with them because they're so small.
Yeah, and that's the one thing I try to explain to people when they ask, like, why hasn't Simpson done transition lens? Why haven't they done all this stuff? And it's like, Simpson's a small company.
Yeah, I mean, there's 3 guys I think that work for the motorcycle division. 2. It used to be 3. No, it's 2.
Joseph's not there anymore.
Oh yeah.
But there's 2 guys, and it's and they're out there and they sell their shit out. So they're a smaller company. They sell less. I guess they would sell less helmets than Bell does, but they meet their marks and they sell out their products all the time. So there was one year, I think it was last year, where it's like 2 months, like they were just sold out of everything. Couldn't get shit.
Yeah, I know, because I try and get helmets to paint for customers through that.
I'm still waiting on my new Outlaw.
I'm waiting on 3 Outlaws right now.
I'm waiting on mine from you.
Yeah, from who?
You.
Who's your?
No, but I like working with Simpsons as well. Like they were one of the first companies that really gave me an opportunity to put my shit out there and support me.
You're doing are amazing. That one I seen at IMS, was it last year here in Vegas?
Oh yeah, the Kenny Powers one.
Was it Kenny Powers or was it Samuel L. Jackson?
No, the Samuel Jackson is my first one I did. Yeah. But the Kenny Powers one was the one we did last year for the new Mod Bandit. Yeah. And stuff like that. So yeah, it's cool. I dig that shit. Yeah. We did another one for Lexan because
that Lexan one's badass.
With like Marlon Brando on it and shit, and it just that's kind of become my thing, I guess. Is like I said, I was talking about this with Steve earlier. It's like I was really against the panel thing because we were doing all that tribal and flames and all the graphics that fit the Harley bagger world, and then the panel thing started kind of creeping up out of nowhere, especially for us in Texas. Yeah. So when I finally decided to do it, and I finally indulged in the guys like you and Buck and Flying Iron and all these people from the West Coast that was doing Valley this Customs, style. Yeah, Valley Customs. We were doing this style. I was looking at it and I was like, how do I? Because it's you look at all 4 of what I just mentioned and you see a difference in everybody's work. And I was like, how do I do that but do it different using the same shapes? And, I mean, you're finding shapes and shapes. And then I got heavily influenced by the race helmet thing. Poland and these guys. Yeah. And, I told Paul, I was like, dude, I'm so in love with this style, mainly because it's new.
Yeah.
And I still enjoy doing the panel stuff. So it's like I'm trying to blend different things that inspire me to create a style.
Absolutely.
And I think it works well. Like anybody looks at yours knows it's a Schultz, setup. Like it's you can see. Kept it rolling. But yeah, we've been having a little thing that like pops and just kind of cuts out every once in a while. But
it's all right.
But yeah, so it's been like going that way, and the helmet thing has been the funnest thing because it's you could just do more work to it. Spend more time on it and shit.
I wish I could just do helmets all day.
Yeah.
Well, that's what we want to do.
Yeah. I mean, it's just. They're fun. They're small. A gallon of clear goes so far on them.
Dude.
It's just like
1 gallon of clear, 12, 14 helmets later, and you're like, oh well, this is where the money's at.
I know. And
the other thing is like, and you're responsible for this as well. But when you started painting helmets on bikes, like it became like. Put like this, they've always been painting helmets on bikes. Like most people would come in, they'll bring their bike and they'll bring you 3 fucking helmets and be like, hey, knock this out, right?
Yeah.
I never wanted to paint helmets because of that reason.
Yeah.
And then when this stuff come along, what you guys were doing, it made it to where like, okay, I see a way to just sell the helmet separately from the paint job.
Absolutely.
That way I can still get the money that this is worth and not be like, well, dude drops off a bagger, he's paying $8,000 for it, and then he drops off 3 helmets, and you're like,
you do them for free.
And I'm like, well, that's 1, 2, 3, that's $4,500 in helmets.
I hate matching helmets.
Yeah, I don't need, dude. Thank you.
I hate matching.
Thank you for helping me out.
If you have a bike and a match helmet, go back to 1993. I'm sorry.
I've been saying that for years, dude.
I know, because you get these bagger guys, that big wheel bagger guys that I used to do, and they would drop off their bagger, then they would give you 2 flip-up helmets and then 2 beady helmets. So you're painting 4 helmets, and you're like, dude, this is...
Yeah.
Like, what do you want me to do with these? And they're not new helmets.
Yeah.
They drop off used helmets that got chips and bugs on them, and you're just like, dude, come on, man.
Take this back.
Yeah,
so that's where I would always, like, I would work for shops when I was a kid, and I'd be like, man, I hate matching the helmet to the bike.
Yeah.
Like, and that's
especially the modulars, because those things are just like, you take them apart, it's like taking apart a bagger.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah. So when that's one of the things that I think Unknown did too, is they pushed a lot of that, because you see the bike and then you see a helmet. You know what I mean? Like, you see, it was a separate thing. It was a separate, totally different thing. And that kind of comes from the supercross world.
Yeah.
Because a lot of those guys, they have a bike and then their helmet's totally different.
Yeah.
And that's what that's what I loved about it, is trying to make something different and something that's just the helmet.
Yeah, I think it has a lot to do with style too. I think maybe a lot of people are insecure a little bit, and they don't feel like they can just wear a helmet like whatever it needs to kind of go with their bike, as far as like they got to coordinate and shit like that. But
worse is like people who fucking match their whole outfit to their bike.
Yeah.
Growing up looking like a Power Ranger, dude.
Well, some people can't afford to get their bike painted too, and they want to get something painted, and they get their helmet painted.
That's what I love about it.
And they're easy. You can ship them in the mail. You can just they don't cost a lot to ship because they're not heavy.
Yeah.
So it's like not 4 boxes of sheet metal.
And the main thing about that I love about it is that I want you to always keep this helmet. Like, I want you to have it done, and I want it to mean something to you so that you never get rid of it.
Yeah. I have like 2 custom painted helmets that I've done to myself. Mm-hmm. And I go to Nick's house, and he has like a shelf in his house, and there's probably 30 helmets that I've painted for him. So I always go to his house, I'm like, damn, we've done a lot of work on helmets over the years.
Yeah,
because he'll run one and then just put it up on the shelf, and it's just like, wow.
And that's the deal. Like that, my buddy I was telling you about earlier, that's huge fans of all you guys, and that's what he got me on, and he's the one that pushed me into doing the helmets. Yeah. And I finally did it, and it completely has like reshaped my happiness in painting.
I could do a helmet in a day.
Yeah.
And well, within reason, I guess. But like, so you imagine you're doing bikes and it's hours and hours and hours, and like sometimes you lose that light at the end of the tunnel until it's like, wow, all right, I got to do this now. I got to stripe it. Now I got to clear it again. With a helmet, you're like, wow, I just did that today.
Yeah.
And you go home, you're like, wow, that was bitching.
Yeah, exactly.
Like that's a good feeling. Like that's what I like about helmets.
Jesse, you painted it to 1 helmet or 2 helmets now?
Painted 2. I painted 1, and then I painted my own personal bike.
Yeah, he did his personal.
And then I painted a couple of just solid color paint jobs. But graphics for me is they're fun, but lining them up is something that like I have no idea how to do.
Yeah.
So I know how to do pretty much anything in the shop, but like doing it on both sides, that's where I don't know how to do shit. So like I can do, you know, graphics. I could probably, you know, I don't know. I can do most of everything. I don't have enough experience actually doing it, but just growing up watching him doing it and shit. Then
that just comes with time.
Yeah, I know all of the procedures and how to, like, you know, spinning gold leaf. I've seen him do it a million times. I know what you're supposed to do, how you're supposed to do it, all this shit. I know the glue. I know, you know, everything. I know the steps.
Just never tried it.
Just don't try it, because I would rather play guitar and be in a band.
Why don't you paint guitars?
See, that's what I'm gonna do. I did paint a guitar already, though.
I love painting guitars.
Yeah.
I want to actually like start building them.
That's what I was telling him, because we did a podcast with Mike Learn at the beginning of the week, and I was telling Mike, I was like, yeah, man, my brother needs to take your class. Like, they build a guitar.
Yeah.
You know, they build it, paint it, and do all that shit, and the class is like a 4-day class.
What?
Yeah, if I could learn how to do that, and I could just, like, I've always felt like I'm more of an artist on like the writing and like music aspect, not so much like physical drawing and things like that. Like when it comes to drawing, like, dude, I'll just doodle, and like that's about as far as it goes, and I suck, you know. But like writing, like I was always into that.
See, my brother, he's like he can sculpt anything. Like when we were kids, he can make anything out of clay. He does these. He's a mechanic, so he takes and he makes these fully functional people out of auto parts that have like shocks for their legs, and they move and they do weird shit. And he makes them out of stuff that he
just
has.
Wow.
And he like, but they're people. They have joints and they have like a head that moves, and like you're just like, man, how'd you what?
What
like,
the fuck?
What? Where'd this come from?
He's like he's kind of got that engineering, techie mindset.
He's just like, he's very mechanical.
Well, I think a lot of times, like, I think when you're young and you have early successes with creativity and finishing a product and getting that satisfaction of finishing things, it snowballs that desire to want to have that.
Yeah,
I did that.
I think it releases dopamine in your brain or
that's
something.
Why I do the
I think it does
shit.
something to your brain where you're like, not like a drug, but I think it's a very addicting thing. At least for me, like in some of my videos I talk about it too, is like you go through anxiety, emotions, you go through all this stuff through a project, and at the end it's almost like this weird relief
pride,
feeling,
man.
pride thing, and then it's like, all right, I'm ready to do that over again.
Yeah.
Not remembering the anxiety isn't that, but like you like, all right, I want that feeling again.
Yeah.
You know?
You're just proud of it, man.
Yeah.
It's kind of, I get that same feeling every time we play our songs on stage, you know.
Yeah,
every
absolutely.
time we record it and release it, and, you know, like it's the same. It's kind of like your baby, you know.
Yeah.
Just like you said earlier, it's like giving away a piece of yourself.
Yeah.
So for me, that's what music has always done for me. And like maybe the only reason that I'm not inspired to do this shit on, like, you know, the way that you guys do it is because like this entire time, my entire life, I've seen this as work, and I've never had a good time doing this ever. You know
Well, there's a reason why they call musicians artists.
Yeah.
You know, it's because that's a different
different form of art.
Yeah,
you
so
know?
that's kind of always, I've just used music forever. Like I grew up, as weird as it sounds, I grew up writing like poetry and like short stories and stuff.
Absolutely.
And so like that was what captured me then, and then that's why I started doing music, is because I wanted a better way to express. I wanted to be able to express better than just the poetry. Like
that's what I used to do that stuff too. I used to write poetry when I was a kid.
Yeah.
There'd be like chaos going on in the family, and you just close the door to your room and you just have your own little environment, and then you do your own thing. You know, that's part of the reason why I can't stand being at home now.
Exactly what stemmed like everything, though. I mean, I've taught myself how to produce music.
Yeah.
You know, I know how to do all this like nonsensical shit that I've not ever made money on, but I'm really good at it. So at some point in time, I'll figure it out. You know.
I think it's just human nature that if you're good at something and it's something you enjoy and you work hard enough at it, the money thing comes later.
Yeah, exactly. Like that's why I'm not worried about it. You know, I just know that I've been on this path and I haven't really strayed at all, and like I've only gotten better, and I've come across more and more people, and it's like more people are starting to see it, and so like it's just now beginning to be a thing, like open doors for me. So I mean, I'm not too worried about it. I don't think I'm ever gonna stop or give up on that.
Yeah, I don't think you should. I think you should just keep doing what you're doing.
Just I know that a lot of people are like, you tell them you want to be a musician, they're like, they don't see all the other aspects. They're just thinking like, oh, you want to be a rock star. I'm like, nah, dude, I don't really give a fuck about being a rock star. There's other ways to make money in this, you know. And just and my idea of success isn't like I'm traveling the whole globe on a fucking airplane all the time, selling my soul to millions of people for tons of money. Like, dude, success to me is like, okay, I'm traveling in a van and I can afford to get anything I want at this gas station. Like, that's all I need.
Truck stop.
Like, if I can, as long as I have freedom and I can have enough money to be free, that's it, dude. What else do you need?
And it's probably a big thing too, is expressing yourself, having a genre to express 100%. Yourself. I mean, you can't put a dollar sign on that.
Yeah, just like I've set my whole life up to be freedom. Like I've revolved everything around freedom. Yeah. And so to me, like, losing that would be, I would rather have like less money and more freedom than more money and less freedom.
Well, that's just like,
which is exactly what we were talking about earlier.
Yeah.
With
the one of the things that I feel like that I lack the most in my life, that I regret a little bit, is like the lack of discipline in certain things. Like I've been disciplined about certain aspects, which has allowed me to grow my skills and stuff like that. But I mean, me going to the gym or not going to the gym, that's a discipline thing. Like making sure I wake up at this time and go to the gym, that's a discipline thing that I don't hold as much of a value. So, like as much as, freedom, and like you're saying, like, dude, going on my first bike trip across country, I didn't want to come fucking home. You know what I mean? Yeah. But realizing that, okay, if I was just walking across country, which would be the freest way I could do it, I don't know if I would enjoy that the same way as on this bike with my friends that I made through my life and struggles.
I don't know, man. For me, I could do that shit by myself.
Yeah.
Like, I'm kind of like a half-ass loner, where it's like, there's certain times when I get overwhelmed just from being around people, and it's like,
I'm a big time loner.
Yeah, and it's like
I do everything by myself.
Yeah, like I almost prefer it that way.
Yeah.
Like walking around this show, and then it's like walking with somebody, I kind of feel like I'm stuck, But like when I'm by myself, I'm like, it's cool because I can just go here and do that and think this and look at this and take whatever time I want. Like, I'm not on somebody else's schedule, I guess. I don't know, man. I think freedom's just freedom, man, no matter how you put it.
I feel like so many people want stuff from me that, like, I find myself being alone because that's the only person I can trust to just be real with me is myself.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, everybody, even though they're paying for it, they want.
Yeah.
And they keep on you and they want. Sometimes you just want to just rely on yourself and just be alone. You know what I mean? Don't rely on any other person or...
especially not for or for fun or for completing yourself and whatnot. With I think you were saying something about like people. Do you get a lot of people reaching out to you, like saying like, "Oh man, following you, watching what you do, it really inspires me," and things like that all the time. And that's kind of
at the booth.
So that happens since we started doing this podcast. I get those kind of messages all the time, and it's got me to where I want to show people more of the inner workings of this life.
Yeah.
And that's why we've been, for me, it's like trying to get into all this video aspect of it and trying to find a way to capture it. And I'm finding like I haven't done much of it, any of it yet, but it's really taken a lot of my attention away because I want to learn how to be able to capture, like the guy that's been doing all the videos and the photography this week at SEMA. It's like I want to be able to do that type of stuff and capture the emotion and feeling and things like that.
I'm really into that medium too, like the video, like
I'd like it to try and stick away from like the quick cut like thing that everybody's doing, where it's like a quick cut video to music. I like the stuff where it's like it's in depth and you walk away remembering it. I feel like a lot of videos nowadays are like,
it's not so much
like
artistic.
You see it,
it's just all B-roll
you like
footage,
it, and then you just move on to the next, but you don't remember it.
Well, yeah, it's
you know what I mean? Like
it grabs attention, but it's not really. It's not artistic. Really,
and it doesn't sit with you. Like I'm trying to do a video right now where it's like, because both my parents suffer from depression. I had depression, so when you're talking about like, I got to get my ass to the gym, like sometimes it's like I gotta force myself to get out of bed. And it's like, that's, I think, an artist thing maybe too. It's like, I think a lot of artists are depressed or suffer from depression, but
he definitely does.
Like I was on medication for a while.
True.
I refuse to take medication.
And it fucked me up.
Exactly.
I couldn't get a boner. I didn't do
That's
nothing.
a common thing, man.
And I was like, I'm done. I might feel like a zombie, but I can't get my dick hard.
Yeah, that's all that matters, right?
And,
that's just kidding.
And it's like some of those videos that you were saying people reach out to you. It's like, I feel like they suffer from that, even though they might not say like, well, I'm depressed and I have
a lot of people
take
are
Prozac.
depressed and they don't even know sometimes.
They don't know because nowadays it's all about the quick little stimulants. Instagram, oh, I like that. I seen this little video. Boom, I'm gonna like it. Boom, I'm on to the next thing. People don't take the time to sit there and really absorb and look back and reflect on themselves and love themselves. I mean, you can only love somebody as much as you love themselves. You know, they love themselves. So it's like all these people out there. It's like, man, you don't even love yourself, man. You're like a fucking zombie.
Yeah.
You know, you're walking around thinking you're cool and this and that. And I was like, dude, I know for a fact you're an insecure fucking dude.
Yeah.
You know, and it's like these people that reach out on social media and they say, oh, I really love the video you did about this or that, this and that. It's like, I know for a fact they probably feel a little bit of the way I felt, which is like, you don't have a position in this world. There's no support behind you. You're kind of doing things on your own. And that's how I felt forever. You know, it's like, there's no support system. You know. My
whole issue is like, I always grew up feeling very misunderstood.
Yeah,
like I couldn't never find like that group of people who like I just vibed with everybody. So like I bounced around from many different like, you know, from like the gangster kids to the goths.
It was the same way. You know, I was a loner.
Yeah, so I was always like that too. And then it's not until I started getting older and becoming more of myself and like embracing just like the weird shit of myself that like people could start flocking to you. You know, like the weird misfits and shit, you know, like they come to you because they're seeing that you're comfortable with yourself, and like, I think people want to feel that way about themselves, and like they want to feel accepted, so they feel, you know what I'm saying? Yeah, and I think not changing, like not thinking something's wrong with you, and like accepting yourself and being like, yeah, this is who I am, this is what I'm gonna do, this is how I am, you know, this is me. Knowing that and like accepting that is like probably the first step into really like going in the direction of like, all right, I'm gonna be. This is how I am. I'm not going to change for anybody. I'm going to gain confidence in that. And this is just me. That's exactly how I'm not like you. Yeah. You're different. You're a completely different set of DNA. Yeah. You know, like me, it's like nobody. I mean, I didn't have like somebody like that. I was like, what do I do in this situation? My dad was drunk. Well, you know, like my grandpa died when 2004 or something. You know, what I mean? You didn't really have any real leadership. Yeah. No, like I couldn't go to somebody and be like, man, what do I do in life in this situation? Yeah. You just have to like figure it out on your own. So you're like, that burns yourself out too. Yeah. You know, because you're constantly trying to be like, well, am I doing this right? Am I doing it wrong? Yeah. Is this person good for me? Is this person not good for me? Like, see, I'm at that point right now. I still struggle with that. Like, I still struggle with trying to find like a proper person to ask for like decent advice. You know, because like I can talk to him, but like he's kind of a dumbass sometimes. You know. Like, I've tried his ways before, and they have not worked. They work. Not all the time. They work for you, but maybe they don't work for him. Yeah, but I don't know. Like, that's a real thing. You know, I think that at some point in time...
Well, the way the world is set up now, like, it's just... you're bombarded with people showing off their successes and their great things, and it's for attention, and it's all, you know, it gets really hard to find your place, like you said, in a world full of people that seem like they're always winning, and everything's always going shitty for you, and it's tough, man. Like, it's tough to find. If I put the shit that's going wrong in my life on social media, like, somebody would feel better. Like, fuck, man. You go on my social media right now, it looks like, oh, he's in Vegas. Oh, he travels. Oh, he's young. I mean, look at these chicks online. Yeah. They're just like, oh, dude, I can't imagine. This place. I couldn't imagine being with or like trying to date a chick now whose whole like life has been about trying to stand out on a social media platform. Yeah, that was my ex, my recent ex. Bro. Yeah, you'd be like, why do you have to post that photo of you with your tits out? Yeah, see, that's most girls. And you're like, am I not enough for you? Like, what do you need? And then you get all these dudes that don't care that she has a boyfriend. Yeah. Saying like, oh, hitting her up, DMing. It's like, is that just an attention thing? It's very much. Are you really like that loyal to me? Are you not? Are you like, what is that? Because I don't do that. You know? Yeah, I think that a lot of people suffer from that. Like, they want that kind of attention, and they don't. I don't think they mean anything negative from it, though. I think a lot of, especially women, like, that start doing that, and they get kind of addicted to it. Really, you know. Like, it's kind of like, well, attention is addictive, thing, you know. Man. So now they're like getting addicted to it, and you're asking them shit like, you know, like what you just said, you know, and it's like, really that stops there. They don't want to gain anything from it.
but they enjoy it there.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Like,
it's weird.
Like a lot of women, like these dudes are like, oh my god, dude, I'd fucking lick the fucking dirt off your toes right now, you know? And they're like, that shit makes them feel good about themselves, but they're not gonna message back like, come on.
Yeah,
you know?
And I like, to me, that's just not an authentic.
It's not, but that's like the world we live in now. That's
why I don't get it. I don't get
That's 75% of the women nowadays. That's 75% of
My
women
ex was
nowadays.
24 years old, and I was like, man, they grew up on social media.
Yeah, that's my entire generation. Like, I'm fucked. Every girl I've ever been with has been that way.
Yeah, and I don't get it. I don't understand it. I probably never will understand it. Because I feel like we live in real life as older people because we got to see it, what it was like before that shit.
Yeah, exactly.
And now it's like when you meet these chicks, and it's like everybody knows everybody too.
Yeah.
You know, like, oh yeah, that guy hit me up, and this dude.
There's like this.
Messy.
What the hell?
There gets to be this world of like certain tiers of social media followers, of like groups and tiers of things, and it's just weird, man. It's a
and my ex, I remember it was like a turning point when she was with a friend that she just met, and she was like, oh yeah, he has such and such amount of followers, it's no big deal, like kind of joking, you know, like, and I like clicked in my mind. I was like, wow, that's kind of weird to say that, like, is this not real? I go, man, this is kind of fake. And I was just like, that's when I was like, man, you just dating me to look good on social media because I have so many followers? Like, is that what this is about?
And you know, it's so weird, right? Because like we're kind of close in that shit. So could you imagine like the girls and the guys that are in the hundreds and million followers that aren't like celebrities, other than the fact that they have big ass tits and nice asses and stuff like that? Could you imagine how fake and superficial it must feel to be in that circle?
I couldn't imagine.
Yeah, I would never want to be there.
I always tell you, it's like, dude, don't let me get a million followers because I'll fuck up. You know what I mean? I
just equate that to like walking into a Gucci store and just being friends with everybody. Like you see, I don't want to fucking hang out with those kind of people.
You know, you mess with these models that come from Monster or Rockstar or whatever, and you see how many followers they got, and then you try to have a conversation with them at a show or something like that, and there's nothing.
There's nothing.
All they know is that.
Yeah.
All they know is social media. Like, they can't hold a conversation with you.
Yeah.
And you're like, what the fuck? Like, what happened at the household that, like, yeah, you're gorgeous, you're beautiful, but is that, like, everything?
But you're kind of dead inside, I guess?
Like, you're very, like, I noticed recently from my ex and you know, a couple people that I've dated in the past, was like, so, like, shallow people are nowadays. Like, I'm a very deep, emotional person. Genres of my life are like totally like up and down, and I'm doing this, I'm doing that, but I'm like expressive about it. And I feel like people nowadays are just very surface oriented. They dip their toe in the deep end of the pool and they get scared and they pull away and they don't know how to deal with it. They don't know how to look into themselves and deal with themselves.
Yeah.
Right.
And I think that's something that, man, I don't know. I don't even know if I want to bring a child in this world that's like that.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Scary. It's scary. My daughter is 18. You know what I mean? And or she will be 18.
Yeah, she's about to turn 18
in January. So it's like, you know, she's grown up with social media 100%, and she's struggled hardcore with depression to where she's had to go to, you know, like fucking, I don't know what they call them, mental institutions or whatever,
it's
but
like mental hospital.
Yeah, and it's just you know, and I've seen all kinds of studies about it. Like a lot of kids that grown up with it has become their kind of currency or their relevancy in life, and it's you know, as much as I applaud social media for opening doors across the nation, it's. I guess you said it earlier, or somebody did. It was just, it's such a necessary evil.
Yeah. You know, it's like, for us, it serves a purpose for us.
Yeah.
For them and that kids and, you know, the attention, I don't see the purpose.
You ever notice that, like, the last almost 20 years now, our whole life has been about self-promotion?
Yeah.
Like, you join MySpace, hey, about you. I'm this. You're trying to church up your life.
Yeah.
Trying to find the best pictures of yourself, whether it's a dating site, whether it's a new social media platform, you know, whether it's your Google profile it's like everything that we do is about talking about ourselves so many times in so many instances that it becomes like a very self-centered life for a lot of people. And I'm sure myself, I'm guilty of it here and there, you know?
Yeah. And I'm a very humble, non-self-centered person. Like, I'm like a giver, like a codependent. Like, if there's something wrong, I'll want to fix it, you know. And I just, you see these people that they like, I don't know, they're like zombies.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And you see that, like what you just explained, and it's like, what's gonna happen?
Yeah.
Like, I want to know, like, what's gonna happen in 10 years? Like, is social media gonna blow up, and there's gonna be something else, and people are gonna force to like
interact.
Talk to each other?
Yeah.
Like what?
Like we were big fans of Joe, or at least I am a big Joe Rogan fan, and he talks about all this type of shit all the time, and it does seem like eventually the world is just going to be that augmented reality where these people on these certain social platforms and statures are just going to want to commingle with people of that world.
Yeah.
Have you ever seen like Black Mirror or any of those things?
Yeah.
Dude.
That shit's fucking spot on.
Netflix.
Man. Watch that shit.
Oh, really?
Netflix, Black Mirror. It's kind of like the Twilight Zone for the technical age.
Oh,
Yeah,
wow.
it's
And
really cool.
there's an episode where this chick literally was on this social standard. Like everything is about like, how like when you get out of Uber and they can give you 5 stars?
Yeah.
So everything that she does, she gets a
Every
rating.
transaction,
And
like when you buy something or have a conversation, somebody rates you right after.
Oh, wow.
Yeah,
And it's with
everything.
your social score or whatever. So
Holy smokes.
Dude, it's a fuck. Dude, all those shows are a trip.
like you can only like get certain things. It's kind of like credit at that point. You can only buy certain things if your social score is like this.
What?
yeah, dude, it's a fucking trip.
That's probably where
Yeah,
it's
but
gonna go.
That's the Black Mirror, or it's called Black Mirror on Netflix.
Yeah, it's just
check
like
it
there's a
out.
couple seasons of
Yeah.
it, but that kind of shit is gonna, like a lot of these models that you're seeing that are 22, 23, like they've didn't really have it as much social media. Maybe they're closer to our side of things, but I mean, Jesse, you're 24, and I mean, you didn't really do MySpace though, did you?
I caught the ass end of it, so I had MySpace for like a year or two before they came out with Facebook, I believe.
Did you ever log into your old MySpace?
No, it's been
I can't
years.
remember it. Yeah.
Oh, man. I log into it and I see old paint jobs and stuff I've done. It's ridiculous.
The problem, so when it comes to these model chicks and shit like that, the problem with me that I see is it's like what you were saying, it's very shallow. So like a lot of these girls who are too perfect or too much whatever, they cover up too much shit. Like it's not attractive. I find I'm a lot more attracted to this chick who's like doesn't have makeup on or has like a chipped
Natural beauty.
Yeah, or
Yeah.
or just like just not a fucking
personality?
fake piece of shit.
Yeah.
I'm sick of that. Like you run into them all the time, and especially like in my generation, like on my Facebook, probably 70% of the chicks that like I went to school with or know or are on there in general are like that. They're fucking putting their tits out there. They're doing this or doing that, and it's like
What about this like scenario? So like I'm very fortunate and I love my wife for this, but I find my wife to be very beautiful and attractive, but she does not carry herself that way. She doesn't go out wearing fucking
that's
thong
probably why
bikinis
you find
and
her
shit.
attractive.
Yeah,
Exactly.
but for the longest, I can never understand why she would be bothered that I follow some fucking Anna Cherry type chick online.
Yeah.
And I would always just be like, what the fuck? Oh, they starting cars getting out of there.
I don't know what's going on.
But I just never really got how she would feel or be. You know what I mean? Like I didn't really get. I was like, look, because I used to like follow a lot of chicks to find like cool pictures to paint on bikes and
Yeah,
shit.
for art
But I haven't
purposes.
painted a chick on a bike in fucking 10 years almost. You know what I mean? So it's like I've been actively trying to unfollow that shit because also it kind of like seeing that all the time, like I don't want that to be something that I find more attractive than what I got. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
By being desensitized to the.
Well, me, I just get seeing fucking chicks like that in general. I just get desensitized to it, and I'm like,
It's just, I don't know, man.
It's tough.
It's weird out there.
So paint, right?
oh, is that what this is supposed to be up?
Spun off into.
Well, it's
Well, cool, man.
4:07 right now.
Yeah, we gotta
I think
go
we
let
all
the
need to
bike
start
out.
setting up. And
All right, so
getting
Taylor,
put
tell
up.
them the website, Instagram, all that shit.
It's Instagram is Schultz at Schultz Designs.
At Schultz
Is that what it is?
Yeah, at Schultz
at
Designs.
Schultz Designs. SchultzDesigns.com. Schultz Designs on Facebook. You can catch me on there. Be sure to check out my toolbox at Snap-on. Any local Snap-on dealer. And
you go.
appreciate you guys having me on.
Thanks for doing it, man.
Yeah, thanks
I was
for
worried. I
taking time.
didn't know we were gonna get it done this week, but we got it.
No,
we
we
made
got
it
it
work.
done. Yeah, no.
All right, peace, man.
Thanks.
There you have it, Taylor Schultz. I'm really looking forward to having this guy back on the podcast, and it looks like he's going to be coming down to IMS this coming January here in Dallas. So we're looking at having him out here at the shop during our our anniversary party, and I'm looking to do another podcast with this guy. I really dug talking to him, and I want to dive deeper into more, of everything we could be talking about. So I want to thank Simpson Motorcycle Helmets on Instagram and .com on the internet. I also want to thank Dream Rides John on Instagram and teamdreamrides.com with Fast Life at checkout for 10% off. Kevin at Big Bear Choppers and BigBearPerformance.com, 909-478-7788 if you want to give him a call. Paint Huffer Metal Flake on Instagram and PaintHuffer.com and FastLife12 at checkout for 10% off. Thundermax EFI on Instagram and ShopTmax.com. Lexan Moto on Instagram and LexanMotorcycle.com. Fast Life at checkout for 15% off. And guys, don't forget to check out our website, FastLifeGarage.com. And, if you want to do the sponsor us thing and help us out with Patreon and things like that, it's right there. You can do it. And also, like I said at the beginning of this podcast, check out these sponsors. They're the guys that really help push this thing forward along with the Patreon. And it's good times. Like I said earlier, we did another podcast with John Jackson, who is Not Stock Photo. So if you don't know who that is, go follow him. He's a great photographer in the automotive motorcycle industry, and had a great time talking with him last night and getting a lot of insight to photography, which is one of my favorite things to do other than custom paint and riding bikes. You know what I mean? I really like that world, and sometimes I wish that I was a photographer, but I'm trying to stay in my lane. I've been being told that lately. So anyway, see you guys next week and have a good weekend. So yeah, fuck it, I'm done. Peace.